Good evening, all. It's Wednesday, and that makes it time for some midweek geek. I have with me, in order of arrival, Bear and Saxius. And Saxius, you said in Discord you wouldn't be able to make tonight. What happened to your game?
Well, the DM got ill.
Oh, okay. I hope he's okay.
I think he's having a rough day.
He's having a rough day.
Yes.
Fair enough. I have to be very ill to call off a game. I'm that sort of person.
No, I've told players don't attend if they weren't feeling well. I have a motto in all of my games, and I always say health and family first. Mm-hmm. This is a game, and I will boot you out. I will not allow you to attend if you have any of these two conflicting, because this is a hobby. Don't come in.
If it's face to face, then I agree with not spreading germs. But if I'm online, then I'll battle through.
No. You as a player, you will make very bad decisions when you are ill. You will not think clearly, and you will be equally as annoyed with yourself by making these mistakes. And
let me correct you there. I make bad decisions when I'm feeling well.
Yeah, that's just British.
That's John. He does not think his actions through.
We have a special view of them from Canada, trust me. And we've earned it.
Right, I'm just going to say hello to a few people in chat. We've got Halakar here, we've got General Nut, we've got Lee Baker, we've got Gene, we've got Wayne, we've got hello Nightbot. How are you doing, Nightbot? We've got Straw Piglet, we've got RW, he still spells his name RW Boship. I can't get used to that. And No Saurian. So welcome to our chatters, 14 in chat at the moment. Before we get onto any form of topic, recent games? Any recent games other than Saxius's being cancelled tonight? Bear, played anything recently?
I ran Star Trek last Tuesday. This week, Friday, I've got the new Star Trek campaign starting, and Saturday I have my home game, which is Pathfinder Beginner Box, but all my other games are on hold until the new year minimum.
You still got games going, that's the thing. That's good. That's good. Hello, Richard. And Oscar, did you get to play any games at all, or did you...
I don't play. I run.
Yes. Look, I'm of the belief that DMs are players as well. You're playing the game if you're
yes, I had my second edition game, and it was a roleplay heavy game. They have finally traveled to the empire of necromancers, and they are now engaging in the social normality that's there, that is not from where they came from. So they are adjusting to that, and they're doing their best to sort of play very nice with the local normality. Yes, Bear.
You know what I heard about the Empire of Necromancers?
Go on.
The nightlife's dead.
Oh yeah. Woo-hoo! It's not really that much of a rave.
I have a fever and I'm sick. Any bad jokes I make, I'm blaming on that.
Yep, sounds good. So yeah, so they were dealing with that, and it was good. I got to finally bring out a lot of the preparation I've been doing for that empire, so that's being brought forward. And weirdly enough, the highlight for the players was the fact that I was describing them having dinner, but the dinner was Arabian and Indian inspired, so lots of spices, which one of the players is Mexican, one of the other players lives in Texas, and the last one is a lover of anything spiced. So for them, it was just great to finally not have anything that was not European-based foods. So yeah, for them that was great. And I had my 5th edition, where most of the players were unable to attend, except for 2. But I came prepared, so I had a side mission available for them. And it's 5th edition. I got them to meet an abominable beauty. A fey creature so beautiful akin to, I believe I can't remember which of the AD&D monsters, but effectively you risk going blind just looking upon her. The players were warned of this and treated as such. However, some of the players decided it was a good idea to start bargaining and trading with a fey creature. So, things were exchanged, a name was given, and the players have walked out feeling that they got a good side of this deal. I do need to send the two players a message just to explain that when I had to explain mechanics for certain things, that was me translating what the NPC was explaining to them, but they no. I mean, I think I can reveal some of it. They got some magical items, and they are blessed, but they're blessed in favor of the creature. So it'll be interesting to see what happens down the road.
Not like fey creatures to twist things, is it at all?
No, not at all.
Hello, Crafting Gaver. Hello, Mage. Good to see you. I'm now immune to jury duty for a long time. That's turned out perfectly. Hello, Daniel. Nice to see the rest of you. I've played 3 games since we last met. Played some OSE on Saturday afternoon. That was Gene running that. We decided with very little planning and wanton bravado to charge a nest of goblins, and we went in true old school fashion. There was no real sort of party. We just brought whatever characters we felt like. And we went in with 3 fighters and a magic user. And when your 2 toughest fighters roll, I think it was 5 ones in 3 rounds of combat, things are going to go very bad. Things are going to go very, very bad. Right, Mage? We just rolled badly, didn't we, Mage? Yes. Gingerbeard just charged. Omanal put his 1 hit point magic user in harm's way. And the 2 remaining fighters who went in and whiffed all over the place, we ran away. So myself and a Mage, we survived and ran away. It was 4 or 5 natural ones in a row. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We were just constantly. Oh, it's a 1. Hello, Midu. And yeah, it wasn't the most successful of sessions, and we ran, and that was it, really. But I'm playing a paladin, and I have agreed the goblin's bounty because I must get my colleagues back. So I that's the only true thing to do as a paladin. My friends have been captured. Whether they consider me to be a friend or not is another matter, because I wouldn't like my character as a friend. But I've agreed it. So that is what I am bound to attempt to do. In the evening, I ran, and it was my silly my silly game. And that they've gone into the level of a dungeon entitled 5 Gold Rings, because it's, of course, it's a 12 Days of Christmas dungeon. And they were greeted by this big golden mallet in the first in the first room on this level, that in a big, deep, booming voice announced itself as, "I am the Golden Donger." Please replace me when you've used me.
Is that some sort of British slang? Donger?
Dong.
Dong.
Oh, cock. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
I am the big golden thing.
Bantam. Just say bantam. It's the same, right?
So, that session just ended up with Mage running around trying to work out how to ring one of the bells, because they think they've realised they've got to play certain notes on certain bells in order to play 5 gold rings. But that's how that one ended. But, no, very silly. Monday night was the game I play in where one of my regular players is learning to GM, and he's doing it using 5th edition, which I don't think is a very good idea because he's running a big epic campaign, which is quite sandboxy, which makes it even more difficult for him using 5th edition. And he's come away thinking he had a bad session. I thought he had a decent session, to be honest. And now he's talking about pulling back from DMing for a little while. And it's a bit of a shame because personally, I think he did bite off more than he could chew by picking that campaign and 5th edition as a first thing to run.
Which
I don't think he's done a bad job. It's the
Greek one.
The Greek theory, the Greek
Something of the Odyssey. Yeah.
Odyssey of the Dragon Lords.
Okay.
And the biggest mistake it makes is it makes 5th edition characters even more heroic by adding even more powers to already power heavy characters, and then tries to make it a bit of a sandbox. And we all know how fast 5th edition characters improve, and keeping up with those sort of improvements in a sandboxy world is difficult. So, I don't know what's happening on Monday going into the new year. I did post something earlier in our Discord, in our WhatsApp group for that, but I haven't checked my phone since, so I don't know what the plan is. Anyway, Graham has long time no see. Graham,
He said he was having audio issues.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah,
I can hear you.
Hello
Yes.
there. Not long time indeed. How are you all?
Absolutely
Very good, thank
fine. Absolutely fine. Have you played any games recently, Graham? Or?
No, I haven't. I'm kind of coming back after a break away from the hobby, but I have played a bit in Mastara, so that's the location I can talk a bit about.
Good. Right. Just let me check. Oh, that message in our private thing. Yeah. Your audio's fine, Graham. Your audio's absolutely
Right. Okay. Thank you.
So, if anybody, we have two more slots really for anyone to join us. The link is in the Discord as always, and we're going to be talking our favourite gaming locations. Now, this isn't specifically small locations; it can be large locations as well. Micro, as in micro and macroeconomics, micro and macro locations. So you can talk about certain worlds, or certain locations within worlds, or certain specific locations within locations. Do you like adventuring in a certain type of location? And we can also talk about different eras of gaming for this as well, different genres, whether you like to work in a certain location in a modern day one, or a Victorian one, or a fantasy one, or even for Bear, a sci-fi one. I know the rest of it, I'm probably the only non-sci-fi one here. Yes, we have got a Discord server, and it's linked in most of my videos. I haven't put it in for this one yet.
I'm on it.
Actually, type in !Discord. It should show it. If the bot allows it. If the bot allows it, because the bot often filter. Oh no, there should be a link there.
I'm on it.
Oh, you're an admin in there anyway. So you should.
Yes.
You should have to, yes.
I ignore Nightbot.
You ignore Nightbot. Yes, I have toned down Nightbot's oversensitivity. It did accidentally kick a few people for using too many caps on Friday, which I didn't know it was going to do. And poor old Iman got booted for 10 minutes for testing to see how far it would go. I didn't do that. It was automatically done by Nightbot. So
Sure it was.
yes, it was.
I fully believe you.
I wouldn't kick little Iman.
I fully believe
Well,
you.
we believe you, John. It's all right. You wouldn't lie to us.
Never.
Just
You're
because
one of
you two would do that sort of thing, I wouldn't.
I would never do anything.
That sounds
you
like you're
wouldn't
reflecting on something, John. Would you like to share?
No.
Let's see.
The old Nightbot mage would have banned you for 5 minutes for doing that, and then 10 minutes or whatever for a repeat offence. But the new Nightbot is much more relaxed, so we can do a bit of this.
Nightbot. This is my favorite 80s show.
I didn't know that existed.
It didn't. It's a joke. And so there's this thing called television, and on it they play series that are basically sometimes science fiction, that thing you hate more than anything else, and sometimes they had one called Knight Rider. So Nightbot becomes the natural
I remember
joke.
Knight Rider.
Does that hurt? Do you need therapy? You want to take a lie down?
I did watch Knight Rider occasionally because it had a cool car.
No, but cars are sci-fi. That's not fantasy.
Yeah.
How can you like cars? That one talks.
80s car.
No,
it was
it
an
talked.
80s car.
It
no,
talked.
it was a Trans Am. It was a Trans Am.
It
I love
could turbo
Trans Ams.
jump. It could go up into the sky.
No, it was a
Right,
Trans
so
Am.
I'm going to have to step in here and bring us back onto topic. So please, can we get back
Hello, Mr.
onto
Max.
entertaining people?
I think we are entertaining people, aren't we?
No, John, don't.
Okay, right. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about locations on a macro scale, as in big.
Good, super good. What do you mean? Can you
Okay.
please give me an example?
An example of a location in which that I enjoy, I'm going to say the world of Greyhawk, because
Okay, so you're talking like a setting.
Yeah.
locations can be settings, but I'm going to slowly bring it down as go on, because the reason I loved I loved World of Greyhawk because I liked the heraldry, I liked the imagery, I liked the map, I liked the idea of a very medieval feudal setting, and it was my first. And you never fall out of love with your first, do you?
Yeah.
No, that's not true.
I disagree.
That's just a very basic one. So, Bear, give me initially a setting you like, and then we'll narrow
Published setting that I like?
it can be a published setting. It could be something
I'd
you
probably
made up.
say my own stuff I prefer, but if I had to pick a published one, I'm a fan of Greyhawk, except for it taught me all the wrong lessons about how to world design, because clearly Gygax had no clue how geography works. So, it taught us all those bad mistakes, just like Tolkien taught us a lot of bad mistakes about where mountains go, for example. But I would say if I had to purchase a setting that I would be very fan of, it'd be the Mentir Vale.
So what was it you liked about Nentir Vale? I know it was the 4th edition core setting for those who,
and it was part of their Points of Light, and it was a part of the larger world of Nirath and all that. But it's just Nentir Vale is absolutely fabulous for its size, its diversity, the amount of types of adventures you can tell in it. It's really just a solid setting with a great little subplot going through it. If you want to run their plot point campaign, you can, or you can just ignore it and do your own thing. But it's a really fantastic little setting with lots of mystery and lots of room to expand.
I've read a lot of good things about it, to be honest. I mean, it passed me by, and I've never gone back to look at it because of its association with 4th edition.
And I think that's one of the biggest mistakes they made with 5e is that they didn't bring it back for 5e so people could continue to enjoy it.
As people who are regulars on this channel know, I didn't play between 1992 and 2012, so I missed all of late 2nd edition, all of 3rd edition, and pretty much all of 4th edition. Apart from what I saw in video games, and that put me off coming back to D&D. So what I saw of 3rd edition mechanics in Neverwinter Nights, for example, I didn't like them, so it put me off coming back. But hey-ho. Saxius.
So I technically own a lot of own Birthright, I own Greyhawk, Forgotten Realms, Ravenloft is probably the one that I would say, yes, that is the realm or the realms I would pick hands down from the official and publicized TSR and WotC products. Though if I am to pick these days, and if I am told that I'm going to be running a first edition, second edition OSR game of any world of my choosing, I will choose the homebrewed world of Arcadia, which is a openly published world that some DM on Twitch made, and he has gone so far as to make a website where you can go in. He has got a world map. He's got a Wikipedia for every single city, everything that consists of in that city, the economy, the councils of the cities, the lineages, just raw amounts of details. I love that sort of thing because that's where I can open something up, dig in, quite deep into what a world can be, and then go from there. Because I have always found most of the products published do not go into the details that I want, or I will need to get multiple products just to go into the level of details that I want to find. So that's what I do. I end up doing homebrew, or I end up going with like a very zoomed down version where it is super like narrow for what it can do, so I can go into very deep details for what's going on.
I mean, I guess that's where me and you differ, because nowadays I prefer the fact that, for example, the World of Greyhawk box set would be ideal for me. I would completely ignore all the extraneous stuff that is online for it, because I can do that myself. I don't feel I need that level of detail.
Yeah, well, you know what? I could go get the upholstery and reupholster someone's car if I needed to or I wanted to, but it's nice if someone else does it for me. I'm with Saxius on this. The more information you give me, the better it is for me as a DM or as a GM, because it allows me to start getting into what you see the world as, so I can see if I can pick up your threads and your plots as the designer of it all. And I often am at odds with people on this one that say it's too much. I'm like, okay, well,
no.
I'm going to dig myself a bit of a hole here because I'm running a MERP game at the moment, and the MERP stuff is incredibly detailed. Have I used and yeah, you're right, Bear. I haven't used it exactly as written. To all those who play in my Saturday game, I haven't used those princes of Cardolan exactly as written in the canon. I have tweaked aspects of their personality to make them more interesting. Those sort of things. I've tweaked things in the towns to make them more how I want them. And besides, I think the setting's almost too detailed. But I can't remember all that sort of stuff. I like to make things up as I go along. But yeah, I mean, I think there's points for and against. I like the framework that is Greyhawk.
The question boils down to what is your DM style, because ultimately you are not going to have a setting that's going to be catering for every single style, and if you do, then you're going to have very different products that's going to be publicized about the same thing. Like one's going to have to be a leaflet for the ones who are just going, you know what, I'll just make it up, and you're going to have multiple books for the ones that want to go, all right, I want to know what's happening in this town. I want to know the setup of this town. I want to know the secrets of this town. But I also want to know the neighboring towns and the ecology of the county these towns are based within, so that I can run a multi-layered event happening within that. But that's what I do, because if you're going to be in one city and it's all happening inside a county, well, I want to know what's happening inside that county, so that these events generate the life, so that the moment you step outside of the town, you are going to be running into events that are happening whether or not you wanted them to. And it's not just me pulling out random things or going, here's a plot hook. No, it is events, because I run DM sessions where it is just me having factions and events of that area taking their turns and having their actions done.
I've just got to come back to Mage here. I haven't changed Tolkien. I've changed Iron Crown Enterprises. because these characters aren't ones that Tolkien created. It's an era that Tolkien basically said there was lots of there was a plague, and the hobbits moved into the Shire, and Cardolan went, pfft, and that was about it. He didn't say much about the middle of the Third Age. So I'm not actually changing any Tolkien. I'm changing Iron Crown's version of it a little bit.
I think Tolkien changed Tolkien as well. He was constantly rewriting his lesser well-known stories, and I think in a world that's fleshed out as well as Tolkien and Middle Earth is some tweakings inevitable, because it's so detailed. It's unlikely you're going to stay exactly on track.
Yes, I will say. I mean, when I started running the Arnor campaign, I was initially overwhelmed by the amount of information. So I made a conscious decision to just really focus on the bare bones and only.
Well, for me, it's the Cord and Ardor. I have the PDF of that, and it's overwhelming, the amount of information in that piece. It's almost a campaign setting in and of itself, let alone just a section of a campaign setting.
Yeah. Well, I've got my Arnor book here. Imagine Court of Ardor, but that thing.
Yeah, that's even bigger. But yeah, I mean, because the font is so small.
Yeah, it's massive. It's absolutely nobody could memorize what's in there. No, it's impossible. Impossible. Hello, Squill. How you doing? Oh, Manfred's popped in as well, and Elf Bates here as well. They're all coming out of the woodwork. Hello, people.
Why aren't they in the chat with us then if they're all here?
Well, there are more spaces. Right, Graham. Not sure if you're muted. A favourite setting of yours and why?
I like Mystara. I like the depth. I like the stories. Unlimited opportunities for backgrounds and story hooks. There's pros and cons with having such a well developed setting, and there's a lot of fanon and material as well as canon as well, and it's not always some of it's contradictory, so you have to have the right balance on how much you want to dip into that world for the adventure you're running. It might be a long adventure, a campaign, it might be a short one, but I really like the depth of the stories. I'm a bit of a history buff anyway, and I like the gazetteers. There's some unofficial gazetteers as well as the official ones, and it creates the depth if you need it.
It always struck me there's a hell of a lot of variety baked into the Mystara world, almost too much for my liking. They did try and cram almost every culture imaginable onto one small area.
Yeah, apart from the cultures that we know, that Western Europe and North America, they've kind of chosen. They've touched on every other culture. Yeah.
And so I've heard a lot of good things about those gazetteers. I never had any of those gazetteers. They came out around the time I stopped playing, pretty much. So I've seen them. I've seen bits from them, and they certainly go into a massive amount of detail. And I can understand why people like them. So fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, you probably could do with just one or two of the gazetteers, because as a whole, there's probably too much information for any more sensible, campaign of a sensible length. But they are really good for story hooks, and it's like the context that things are happening in. A little bit like what Saxius was saying. That I know a good DM can pull out events and roll on random encounter tables and make it seem spontaneous, but in some worlds you just don't have to. It's kind of already the loose framework is already there.
Okay. And Daniel, guns are cool. Are you at your computer at the moment? Yes.
Yeah,
You've unmuted yourself.
I'm done cooking dinner. So yeah.
Do you have a favorite world location, a favorite world setting?
My favorite is Ravenloft, but the problem is getting people to properly role play it. So I guess the easiest one, the one I ran the most, was Greyhawk. It had
Right.
enough detail that you could wing it, but it wasn't like, say, the Forgotten Realms where everything was done. So you still had room to work with stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Greyhawk was initially presented as very much a framework, and then they placed a lot of modules into it, which created it a history, and the events in those modules pretty much became canon for the world. And since then, they've had the world has developed way beyond. I haven't even attempted to find out
Yeah,
what
I
was supposed to have happened in the world after I
like
stopped playing. But
when they did the Greyhawk Wars and stuff like that. I didn't bother with any of that. I just kept with the original setting.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I would pull adventures from the newer stuff, but I didn't say, okay, this country took over that country, that other stuff. I just left it as is.
Yeah. And it was a framework, and yes, it did go into a little bit of the economies of the regions, but only in a very small manner. I mean, it would say something like this kingdom is mostly lawful neutral, 50% human, 20% dwarf, 30% others.
Yeah, like when they came out with, like, for lack of a better word, the gazetteers for the different countries, they broke down the population densities.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice because you knew, okay, you're going into a dwarven village or a halfling borough
Yes.
township, so it kind of helped. Yeah,
I think it gave just. I mean, it gave just enough, but it didn't go. It didn't go into Saxius level details.
correct.
That's
Yeah,
that's the
pretty much.
thing. That's the thing. Yes, yes. Whereas I will say that does go into it gives you exact numbers of militias and all sorts. You'd love this. I don't know if you've already got this or not, but I think
No, I've not bought any of the Middle Earth ones.
the levels of detail they go into for all the various militias and raiding bands and mercenary companies and all that sort of stuff, and it goes into herbs, and it's got where you find them, and the maps of various maps are labeled according to what you'll find in what location and everything. It goes, if you want depth, that gives you depth.
It sounds like MERP is kind of centrally authored, if you like, or coordinated, whereas with Mystara, there's a fair bit of uncoordination in the early days when people were writing modules and adventures in the 80s. There's contradictions, there's arguments about whether certain things originated in Mystara or Greyhawk. The publishers tried to reduce or end the setting when they wanted to bring out new products at Forgotten Realms. So there are a number of issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very much. Iron Crown obviously had a very strong framework to build upon, and they built on it, and they picked an era that Tolkien didn't say much about, but used his work as being the inspiration for their developments, and they were very, very internally cohesive in what they did. Oh, Iman's joined us. Yes, you won't be banned for using caps. I have killed that side of the bot. Right, let's turn that round now to micro locations. Favorite small locations to adventure in, as in, do you like adventuring in graveyards or cities or frontier villages, or I know Bear is not going to say dungeons. What's a favorite for you, Bear, and why?
Depends. I don't have like for me it's really hard to say I have a favorite because I like aspects about all of them, right? I like a good wilderness adventure. My D&D coming up, our DM was lazy as fuck. And he would just have us wander around the woods until he thought up an encounter for us. So we had an entire 2-week campaign that went on for 2 years where we just wandered through this endless forest until we finally found something, which was this red wall. And then he killed the campaign. We're like, we got somewhere finally. But a good city adventure is a good. It was fun because of the players.
Right.
But I mean, a good city adventure is good. Things like that are good. It's all fun. Myself, I run my campaign. I'm running two different styles of campaign right now. 2 settings. One's my Final Age. One's in my West. The West is a mobile campaign. They're moving from location to location on a quest that's taking them places. Whereas the Final Age campaign is based out of a city called Kingsgate, where they range out from it. Well, they're supposed to range out from it. They ranged out once, and they've spent every other session in the city because I think they're afraid to leave. So they keep coming up with bullshit reasons to stay in the city. So I brought adventure to them. Well, I brought the adventure to them. I just had the dragon elves in the that bullshit.
See, I've always wanted, I've tried to like city settings. And they've never really worked for me. The ones I've played in. And I've always chosen to avoid running them. But we'll come to that in a bit. Saxius, your camera is going berserk, but
yeah, it has been acting up. So I'm still here.
Yes.
So see if that works now. There we go. No, never mind. I'm here. We're just gonna leave it as is. So, well, what's the theme of the campaign? Like that really is like the defining thing to me, because I will do my best to run basically anything, whether it is from dungeon delving or if it's a city bound, sea bound. Like I will run whatever it is. So that's down for the campaign and what we've set out as a group for what it is that we want out of this campaign. So yeah,
Okay.
like in terms of favorites, I know I always end up doing overland, so it usually becomes fields and forests, but I do try to branch out. The thing is, I find players are smart enough to say, "Oh, let's not go into the swamps. Let's actually not do treks across the deserts. Maybe we should not be going swirling up and down the raging rivers in canoes." And it's like, yeah, smart decisions. Things that I wouldn't do either.
But are they things that adventurers would do?
Pussies.
And are they things that you've prepped for? Oh, Saxius is coming and going, and and he's probably just missed what I said. Saxius. This is throwing you in. Oh, hang on. We could have a Saxius back.
Yeah, I'm back now.
So I was saying though, those sort of things are all things that when you're writing an adventure, they're the things you expect the adventurers to do. It's all part of being an adventurer. So can it be frustrating when that's what you've tried to prepare for? When they try to avoid
for the players to turn around and say like, no, we're not doing this. No, it's their game.
It's their game. Yes.
But so I've come to accept that the players will only see 10% of what I prepare.
That's true.
True. So that's what I've come to accept, and that's what I've come to expect when I run the games, is that I will prepare for 100% and only 10% of that will be visible. So
right.
I don't get disappointed by it, and I don't get frustrated by it, because this is just what it is. And at the end of the day, the players can turn around and say, you know what, we don't want to do this quest. Or if they're in if we use sci-fi, for example, and if they have a ship and they just say, you know what, we're going to go into the ship, we're going to fly off, we're just going to do a different job. That's fine. That's a part of the game. Like
Halakar
I don't go on.
Halakar has tried to trigger me by mentioning this.
No.
The expedition.
Yeah, or yeah, no, like
Yes.
again, if we turned it around and had a whole, I mean, you can even have mini campaigns just focused around, you came out of warp speed or out of hyperspeed, and you didn't expect there to be an asteroid field. You've hit something. You're now crash landed on this foreign thing. You need to scrounge up bits and pieces and repair, and off you go. That can be a thing as well. And at that point, you're forcing the players to do something about it.
Yeah.
And the players can probably surprise you and say, you know what, we're just going to settle down here and focus on this. Or we're going to call out for help instead. And then you've got a separate thing to do, gather resources, build the beacon, and then do a time skip where major events happens, and then maybe rescue, maybe death. And then at the end of the day, if we are to strip it down into specific areas, I am very flexible. I will run the settings wherever. I will take into account the various settings and the environments, if it's hills, rock slides and paths and the dangers of coming up and down, not to mention, the animals you'll find in those areas. I can waffle on, as I tend to do, but nothing will make my point.
Yeah, but the thing is at least you waffle on about the topic, so we can never say, get on with it, Sax. It's always like, damn it.
Yes, and there's nothing like the whole point of these streams is waffle, because that's what we do for 3 hours. Waffle. Earthbound Misfit. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to come to a specific micro location in a bit. If we've got any specific things from published stuff that we really like, that's
Can I just add something really quick to mine? Because I don't know if we're going to get to it. I wasn't sure how you're going to go with this. I love running fantasy games set in winter.
Oh, God, yeah.
I don't know. It's maybe because I grew up in the country in Canada, and I used to love going for walks in the snowy forest at night. And when you have clear sky and the moon is out, you can see everything. And it has this beautiful blue silver glow to it. So I think I really have a big, big soft spot in my heart for games set in winter fantasy.
That's cool. I like
There are some major bonuses for that. There's some, for a DM, yes. That will be fun, because now you've got to deal with things like how much heat are you guys having? Like, are you going to have a fire? Do you have enough clothes on, so forth? Like that's I love the logistics that brings about it.
Yeah.
But it's also what go on.
It affects your encumbrance, your movement rates. It depends how much detail you want to go into. You can make it a real pain in the ass for the player in a winter setting.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I
remember
remember
that one Lego Lassie elf who just runs along the top of the snow and annoys the crap out of everyone.
I remember I played in a game where we were on an ice environment, I think, sci-fi, but never mind. And one of the things that the DM had done very well is that he had layered the snow on the map so that we moved across like we would. And then he went, oh, wait, you moved there, move back. Here you are. You hear crackling underneath your feet. And for me, it hit immediately. It's like, oh, no. And one of the other players went, what do you mean crackling? Like, I stomp on it a few times to find out what it could be. And it's like, we're standing on either a river or a lake. And then the player just went, dunk, into the water. I was like, no.
Yeah, that's when the environment becomes part of the adventure, especially if you're keeping track of logistics. Same in a desert campaign. It may take some parties quite a while to get to the Lost City, for example. But for winter settings, you've got mountain settings or Arctic settings. I mean, you could do a whole winter campaign.
Mm-hmm. That's also one of the. I had a similar conversation with my second edition group because winter is coming around, and well, as I told the players, during winter, nations cool down and they don't do anything because waging major conflict during winter is a nightmare and it will cause more harm than not. But it's great for skirmishes because most people are staying inside near the warm hearth of the house. So you can, as long as you can stay warm and as long as you can stay fit, then you can travel relatively unseen for quite a distance.
Yeah, well, that inaccessibility is all part of it. It's why most people or most adventurers don't go to high mountains or Arctic settings.
Yeah,
Okay.
but think of the treasure.
Have a look at the treasure map I've just given out for my Yule game, my Christmas, my winter themed game. There we go. That is an ice covered island. It's a treasure map. The frosted forest, the land of Nog, the River Egg, and the Hangover Hills. There we go.
Yeah.
And that is that sea area is frozen over. So they can go there if they want to. They can leave their town behind, but if they don't go, I'll stop that now.
If their friends don't go, and if they don't go, then they're no friends of mine.
Exactly. Yes. But it's up to them whether they go there or not. That treasure map is there, and it's up to them. But anyway, so Graham, any sort of specifics of like a micro sort of location you tend to like adventuring in?
I like the keeps, the small keep setting, or the small village like Hamlet, and then go from there. The adventurers that decide they want to go adventuring and start at ground level and go to town, look at the notice board, look around for adventures, go to the tavern, and they could potentially from there go all the way in the star setting, and Beckney can be all the way to immortality if you play long enough. But it's a very very modest start, and they haven't filled out their backstories all that much. So there's a lot of potential to develop.
Their stories are still to be written. Basically.
Yeah. You start with the basics.
A simple base of operations where you can easily add travelers coming to and from the place and when, and you can bring in traders, you can bring in interesting NPCs and a bit of intrigue very easily, as well as just simple quests.
Yeah.
Hello, Curtis. I like a small, quite down-to-earth base of operations for games. Nothing too big, nothing too fancy. A village. I prefer a village to a city, and a keep works fine for those purposes. It's manageable. It's very manageable. So, Daniel, anything to add to this?
I'm pretty much in agreement with him and you. Like, I don't know if you consider, and Bear's probably gonna land base me on this. But keep on the Borderlands. I love that because if you start your group there, they can, like, they might say, screw the caves, just kill the hermit and move on, but I like running. If I'm running, I prefer to have the players go into a keep, because honestly, it's being lazy. It's less work for me. You're stuck there. Sandboxes are fun to play in, but they're a pain in the butt for a DM. Know what I mean? Because, like, I think it was Saxis said, players only see 10% of what you prepare. And so, yeah. But if I'm playing, I prefer a sandbox playing. But if I'm running, I'd rather run the people through a keep. I like cities, I don't like cities because that's also a lot of work. Sorry, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that.
Yeah, so am I. Graham's just gone to have some food. He's gone to have his dinner back in a bit, which is absolutely fine and that's quite late for dinner in Auckland because Graham is on my side of the Atlantic, of course, same side as Sexius. We have an even split now down the middle, except we're on the wrong side. Those who live on the East Atlantic are currently on the west of the channel. We need to turn that round somehow. So, General Nutt has mentioned this is one of my favourite sort of locations. I love the idea of forgotten temples to forgotten gods. I think that's it's been heavily used. In fact, there's a whole game written about it, that sort of thing, in Call of Cthulhu about forgotten gods. But I like the flavour of these other places, and I like the way you can bring in a lot of sort of horror and psychological elements very easily when there's a hint of some distant, long forgotten power lurking there, ready to be awakened. WG4, Forgotten Temple of Tharisdon.
Yep.
Wonderful AD&D adventure. Really, really nice. It's not nicely put together. It's not particularly well put together because it was done in a rush, but it's got some really nice imagery in it.
Now I'm gonna have to dig that out.
It's a good one. It's a good one. Right. Okay. Me do. Yeah. Would be past midnight where you are. You are further east than anybody else I've seen in chat. So
DK.
Yes.
I would never lambaste you for your choices, sir. They're your choices. And if you enjoy them, you enjoy them. No, like people really need to get this through their heads. I don't like Keep on the Borderlands. That doesn't mean other people can't. It just means I don't.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Yeah.
Just saying, man. Don't shoot me.
Earthbound Misfit. That one. We've played it once. We've played it once or twice on Fridays. I'll be bringing it back again at some point. And Iman, we know you like your shed. That's where you have your smoky time. But right, specific locations in specific adventures or settings. Be really specific now. Somewhere that's in a published setting or scenario that you really, really like and your reason for it.
Oh, man.
Say that again.
Well, something in a published setting or published scenario that you really, really like. It could even be in a rule book, mentioned in a rule book, anything like that. Anything in RPG material that you really like and your reasons for liking it in terms of a very specific location.
Is a location?
A specific location. Somewhere you'd really love to have adventured in, or you'd love to run it as part of an adventure.
Does it have to be fantasy?
No.
All right. Let me get the book.
Yeah,
Okay.
for me, nothing. I don't run modules, and I tend to make my own worlds.
Do you never draw things from published materials to use?
Rare, or I'll just be inspired by them and rework them into something that fits in my setting.
So what has inspired you? What
Oh my God, Lord of the Rings, Willow, the Belgariad, Game of Thrones, Tigana, the Sword and the Chain series, or the Silver Crown, the Sword and the Chain series. Tons of stuff has inspired me. The Bible, like tons and tons of stuff has inspired me. But I'm always reworking it and filing off serial numbers where I can and twisting it and making it my own,
One thing that was cool that you just said was the Bible.
Oh God, that's the Old Testament is like the greatest fantasy epic ever.
I've never heard anybody say that. And that's a very good point. Like you said, it is.
It's fantastic inspiration in that book. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So Dark Heresy, Purge the Unclean. It has a number of fantastical setup settings.
Before you continue, I just like how Sax decided I was done.
I do apologize if you
It's
are
okay.
not.
I will gladly yield my time to the gentleman.
No, please. I don't want to take
No,
away
please.
your
I insist. As a Canadian, we're going to have a standoff here. I insist you go, sir.
Fair enough. I will take it. So, because Warhammer 40,000 has got a absolutely endless supply of unique different settings, this published module goes into 3 very unique places. One of them being a hive world, one of them being a what they call it again, a Hulk, a space Hulk. That's the one, which is a gigantic spaceship, and that you're going to be in. And then you are on a mining world, and you also do spend some time on a ship at one point. The book goes into wonderful details about how each of these environments and how each of these settings are going to be supremely different and very unique for the entire campaign. Being on a hive world is the equivalent of being in Judge Dredd and Mega City. It is cramped with people. You are never alone. There's always people around you all the time, and it is something that it hammers home consistently. I love the fact that when you are in the Space Hulk, not only are you in space and you've got to deal with, well, the fact that there is no oxygen around you, but you are inside a ship which comes in and out of reality, meaning it has brought with it beings from other dimensions. Most of them are not kind to you, as well as a lot of instabilities of what we perceive to be reality. And lastly, being on a mining world, a place where it is so backwatered that your characters are technically, you are so advanced. The fact you might be able to read makes you a member of the clergy, but it really hammers out like there are some serious social differences when you are brought into different settings and different events and areas. And I love that. It just goes into these details that can really make a campaign in this world or in these worlds so unique for every group that goes through, because they will all be of different compositions.
John tuned out as soon as you said sci-fi. He's
No, I am bringing up a map at the moment. Just bear with me. So this specific, I mean, that setting book you've got there, Saxius.
Yep.
Is it specific to a specific genre, or is it are they ideas for a variety of settings in there?
So this is a campaign book specifically for Warhammer 40,000, the role-playing game Dark Heresy. And
so
go on.
So it generally has that. I'm thinking of Warhammer roleplay or fantasy roleplay more than anything. 40,000 is something that's never really vibed with me for obvious reasons.
For 40,000, it changes radically because you can be on either a world where the feudalistic system still exists, or you can be in a world of extraordinary advanced technology. But the setting, the themes that goes across all of them is that it is grimdark, it is horrific, it is depressing, it's dystopian, it's oppressive, and your characters are there to do very horrific things in the grand scheme of things. And it's all for technically the betterment, although anyone who has any form of morality will quickly realize, no, it's not a good thing.
See, I like dark. I know, Bear, you can find dark a little bit cheesy sometimes.
No. I like gritty. I like dark. I don't care for the edgelord bullshit.
Edgelord, yeah.
That's the stuff I can't stand. The death metal dark is like, grow up, you know?
No, I think we had a discussion on that Sunday where like dystopian, like cyberpunk kind of dark is something that can be really enjoyed. I know we we discussed and we agreed that again, grimdark, where it's dark for the sake of being dark. That's an acquired taste.
Well, it's the difference between I don't know, Morkborg and Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Game of Thrones is dark as fuck, and it's gritty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Morkborg is silly. Like, day of skulls. Like whatever.
Oh, damn it. What did we do that?
Well,
I was just digging out one of my favorite location maps. And
if you remove the general nut comment, we might be able to see it better.
No, I've just closed the window instead of.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna need to dig it out again.
Cool.
So, give me just a minute or two while I do this.
That's fair enough. But aside from that, like there are a number of other settings, like specific settings, I quite like. Now, if we're going to be doing something like Core of Cthulhu, like I default to city settings because I find it easier to deal with mode of transportation, areas, having events taking place both during day and night. That's quite easy to go into, and I quite like that aspect. Though having them out in somewhere nice and remote, somewhere like Scotland's Shet Island, where you're far. Shet, S-H-E-T.
Oh shit! I'm like, Scotland's really just not playing anymore, are they?
No, they.
Oh, welcome to Shet Island. Lovely. Mind the shite.
Well, you do know that, Aberdeen Football Club's home ground, Pittodrie, literally means pile of shit.
Again, not surprised.
No. Living up to expectations.
Yes. Right. Okay. You see a module in front of you now. I would say this is probably my favorite adventuring location in any published adventure that I've run, certainly with a fantasy theme. See this little keep down here?
Mm-hmm.
This is 95% of the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
It looks really small. There's not much to it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all those arrow slits.
Mm-hmm.
Look at I think it's area 22. Those are murder holes. Look how area 22 is directly above area 3, which is a heavily fortified door. Area 15 with a viewing point to area 3. More fortified doors inside. And the reason why I particularly like this is it's supposed to be a defensible keep on a rocky outcrop. And unlike so many other fantasy keeps and castles, it actually feels like a proper keep. It's claustrophobic, has big, thick walls, arrow slits, defense mechanisms in place. You feel as though it's been built you feel as though it serves the purpose for which it has been built. And you feel as though the writers of this adventure have actually really thought about what is this keep supposed to do, which is really good, because about halfway through the adventure, it gets attacked by a massive army. And precisely what the player characters have to do is use every inch of its defenses against this army. And you better hope that they've mapped it accurately. You better hope that they've paid attention to the details, because it's filled with details. There's things like supplies of oil, supplies of arrows, means of lighting the oil as it's passing through the murder holes. That sort of stuff is all detailed in there. Hopefully the players have paid attention to that, and hopefully they'll realize that the time has come to use it. And I describe this adventure as having the single biggest oh shit moment of any adventure module I've ever played for D&D.
And it is?
It's called the Gauntlet, the adventure.
No, the oh shit moment.
The moment is when they look out, they think they've won, and they look out and survey the countryside. What's that noise outside? What is that shuddering hitting the walls? This is a group of 3rd to 6th level characters. And on the other side of the ravine is a fire giant with his army. And marching down the path towards this castle are about 125 hobgoblins with battering rams. At that moment, if the players are remotely invested in the adventure, they will say, "Oh shit."
What level are they supposed to be in this?
About level 4 or 5, mostly. And that this is a fire giant with manticores and hellhounds, hobgoblins, elite hobgoblins, and he just throws everything at the place.
Do they have a Holocaust cloak?
No.
Oh, then they're screwed.
No. But one of my parties actually got through this by pure luck. They were down on spells. They all looked like they were about to they're about to be overrun. So one of them just went roaming, looking to see what he could find in the dungeon, and he got down into, I think it's area 9 at the bottom, and in there is a crypt, and in that crypt is a revenant, and that revenant exists to try and kill somebody, whoever it's got a vendetta against. Nothing to do with the player characters. It's a historical thing from many, many moons ago. So if you open that crypt, that revenant will just sort of surge past the players and head in the direction of where its enemy should be, which happens to be, I ruled when I was playing it, down the path that the hobgoblins were approaching from. And that revenant just tore through the hobgoblins at that right moment, which made for a really interesting scene, as the hobgoblins literally shat themselves. Anyway, it was a bit of fun.
No, as long as you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Have you ever done the Red Hand of Doom?
I haven't. No.
Dude, I'm telling you, if you like this adventure and this is the kind of stuff you like, you will love Red Hand of Doom.
Yes.
It's one of those adventures that was published after my sort of buying adventures period
And
ended.
You can convert that so easily.
So easily.
Dude, that you do.
I've heard good things about it again.
I rated 9.5 out of 10. There are some things that you might be able to pick at it if you really want to go into the weeds. If you exclude that, 10 out of 10. It is a solid module. The writers know that you are going into this module. It is going to be a slaughter and a slug. They prepare up front. Here is a bunch of magical items because you're gonna get dick for the rest of the campaign, up until you even including if you go to a specific location and deal with someone who is a very powerful magician. You technically can get some additional magical items, but I swear, no sane player has done anything to steal from that character. Most players have tried to bargain with that character. It is a good, solid game. Yes, it is written for 3rd edition, but again, this is so easy to convert.
There's a 5e conversion available on DriveThruRPG anyway, if you're using 5e. And once you have 5e, it's a piece of cake to convert it back to me or BX.
Easily, so easy. And you can just take the storyline on its own, and all of the subplots and all of the encounters, and the authors and the designers walk you through step by step. If you skip this part, here is what you use for fillers. If you skip this part, here is what you use for fillers. This event takes place here. This needs to happen to go to this next point. If they miss the big glowing neon sign for this major event, have these NPCs find it and then tell them, and off they go. Yes, it has got railroads, but it needs to.
No.
And there are so many events. It even takes into account what if the players decide to bargain with their approaching army. How do you handle that? What happens if they're captured? What happens when they're tortured? What happens if they're sent all the way back to the to the hobgoblins' encampment? Well, shit, son. It's good. It is a great module. You want to do Lord of the Rings high stakes big event kind of thing, where the concept of saying we're just gonna stand here and just face the army. No, get out.
Let me ask you a
Give me
question, Geek. Do you like Sylvany wild elves?
Not my favourites.
Okay. Do you like giant owls?
I can take them or leave them.
Okay, you're just being difficult because you want to.
Please.
He's just being difficult. That's like literally the body language of someone being difficult. You lean
I
back,
like-
you closed your arms. I mean, dude.
I like fat, furry-footed hobbits. I like beer-swilling dwarves.
Okay, sure. Never mind. Then don't play Red Handed Doom. So just go run your merp.
But no,
honestly.
if I have to have elves, then Sylvan elves.
Well, there's a tribe of wild swamp living giant owl riding elves in it that the players may or may not turn into allies, enemies, or neutrals depending on their
I
actions.
like that sort of idea.
Amazing.
I like that sort of idea.
Telling
Listen,
you, it's amazing.
you could come across. I know he's technically it's the Lord of the Land. You can come across his personal treasure, as well as a note of him trying to hire like elite dwarven soldiers to come and defend. But because the wagon with the treasure and the what's it called, the hiring letter is all here in front of you, you are now going to have to take that up, get it down to the dwarven fortress, and negotiate, maybe even hackle with the dwarves to get this contract met and get them to the city, so that you can have a epic as fuck battle akin to Helm's Deep and Minas Tirith. It is a great game. Honestly, the way that they've broken down a siege like that is brilliant. It is brilliant.
Well, you've sold that one to me, and I think we've inadvertently mentioned quite a few things that Midu could use here. He's got a question coming up where a bunch of heroes will travel through the world to stop some evil. Very, very vague. Can you big guys share some ideas of places they could come across?
Buy
Yes.
a PDF copy of Red Hand of Doom and just cherry pick some of the locations at the Skull Bridge. Oh my god, there's so many good locations in that adventure.
Oh, brilliant. It's high fantasy though. Like the names are high fantasy. It's great. But the setup is fantastic. So the question here is, bunch of heroes travel to stop. So there's the overarching thing of you have to stop an evil. So you've got the North Star already. We know we've got to stop something or someone of an evil thing. Much like a story, beginning, middle, end. Like make out some pointers of like where are the story going to be taking them. Now, put down the clues that is going to be linking them. If you can remove the comment, Geek, so I can actually show my hands.
Okay.
You've literally got like from here and up. Like if you're going to be having it, like have the beginning, like what initiates it, what draws the players in, what is it that brings them to the call, and what is it that sort of like initiates them to understand that there is a big evil. And they have got to go out and do something about it. Like once you've got those couple of questions set down, you've got the beginning and the hook. Now you're going to be looking at the meat. Like what is it that the players have to achieve to get victory? Whether that is Lord of the Rings, get the one ring to Mount Doom and toss it into the fires, or if it's going to be Red Hand of Doom of we got to make allies. We've got to fight spies. We got to stop marauders. We've got to now find out, the enemy has got their own allies, disrupt their alliances. And these sort of events, like once you know what these themes, what these points, what these overarching story is meant to be, because if it's meant to be high fantasy, and grandiose. You got to make sure you build that up, and that means making the players work. Because again, using Red Hand of Doom, the players are going to be working. They're going to have their work cut out for them. And would you agree with that, Bear?
10,000%.
Yeah.
It is. I went out of my way to buy a copy of it when the POD wasn't available, and I paid a lot of money for the copy because it's a very popular module and it's very expensive. And then the POD came out like a month later. I'm like, you fucking pricks. But still, I don't regret it. It's a great mod. I'll never run it. I would love to play it, but I'll never run it because I'm no good at running pre-canned modules. I suck at it because my creativity starts taking over and I start leaving their stuff. And Red Handed Doom, you need to follow their stuff because it's all very, very intricate.
Yes.
Lots of moving parts, but really worth it.
So there you go, Midu. I'm glad to see you're still here and you weren't scared off by Iman and Manfred attempting to do their Arabic thing. I know I trust Iman's ability with Arabic more than I trust Manfred's. I will say that now. Sorry, Manfred. I know you're a polyglot and you speak all the languages in the world, but I do trust Iman's command of Arabic a little bit more. But yeah, hopefully that's helped you, Midu. I didn't think you'd have any issues with that somehow. Not after our chat we had when I was winning a game the other day, and you were bantering with us with Dungeon Keeper. Manfred's going to shout at me. Daniel's back. Right, Daniel, do you? You're back. Are you alive? Are you with us?
Me, yeah.
Do you have any specific locations in any published adventures that you've run or played in that you really, really love, apart from the Keep of the Borderlands?
I love the city of Lankmar. The detail, if you're running it, you don't have to do anything, because everything's already there for you. And if you're a player character, the details there that you know where you want to go, what you want to do. You can think of what you want to do and go from there. It's awesome. But whenever I ran Lankmar, I had to change the magic system because as rules are written, magic takes 10 times as long. So it takes you 10 minutes or a minute to cast a magic missile. By then your party's dead. So I love Lankmar.
They changed the magic system. I mean, I read the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser books when I was in my early teens, but it never grabbed me in the sense that I wanted to play it as a D&D game.
Well, I didn't like the books. I did not like the books, but I liked the set.
I did. I like the novels. I enjoyed the novels. We have a Shed Dweller and we have a Graham returning.
I actually am going to bounce out because I'm getting a hell of a headache and having a ring light in my face is killing me. So peace, love, peace, guys, and we'll see. I'm doing a live stream tonight over on my channel. I should be very low energy, so hopefully the panel will be high energy. It's about horror games, John. You should stop by.
What time are you starting that?
8 p.m. Eastern time.
Which is 1 a.m. my time.
Yeah, well, you know, you don't have a real job. You should be able to come.
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Cheers, Bear. Bye. Cheers, Bear.
Later,
Bear. Okay, Iman, you've joined. Iman, you asked us a off topic. Sorry, Saxius. You asked us a question earlier. What microphones we use?
Yes, my brother's starting a YouTube channel, and he's just getting all his equipment together and stuff. So he just asked me to ask you guys, like, what mic.
It wasn't to sort out your own dodgy audio, then I take it.
No.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So
no, my dodgy audio is what it is.
It's just a bit of shed acoustics.
I've got a HyperX solo cast.
HyperX solo cast.
Yes. That's my microphone. Saxius, what is yours?
Wait, can you repeat that? Sorry.
I'll type it in chat. HyperX. That's my microphone. Good, Nosorian. Good.
Oh, okay.
Saxius?
I'm pasting it all into the private chats in Streamlabs.
Okay.
I'll have the full name and the likes.
Oh,
So-
well, yeah. Yours is a bit longer and more complicated than mine.
Yeah, I'd say it's a Nevum. It's a pretty simple one, although it is requiring for a let me just find it out. You need basically a power cable, but you also need, oh god, what are they called again? It's like basically a converter, because they will be using like the proper microphone sticks. So you need to have a way for that to be converted over from your microphone here and then into your computer. Because the way that this one works is that you'll need, basically I need like an external source to give it power. I need another cable to then hook it into the computer. So yeah. So that's what I'm using, and I've sent the link of that.
Elfbait says he has got a Fizwoggy Framastonk Mark III. Whatever the hell.
My brother got a, I don't know how you pronounce it, but I think it's Shure SM7B.
Don't know.
Oh yeah, yes. Oh, those, yeah, they're supposed to be quite professional. That's what a lot of the podcast users use.
Yeah, so basically, as far as I know, what he did was he Googled what microphone Joe Rogan uses and then bought it.
Yeah, but he also has like, so what Joe Rogan uses is that he uses that, but then he also has like an entire sound system at the back, because what he ends up having is effectively like a mixer, but he also has a virtual mixer which goes through and filters out a lot of the background noises that we hear, to then give a more crisp audio when it is that people are talking. And in my case, because I don't know, it's probably my computer, I always end up having to boost my microphone so that it's actually audible.
Okay.
So Rogan will have a production studio, I would have thought.
Oh yeah, no, he's got like a proper high-tech setup, you know, with all the bobs and whistles and stuff. Yeah, my brother's just sort of figuring it all out now.
You guys are amateurs. I paid $15 for mine at Walmart.
I can beat that. Mine was literally about £2, about $3 as a temporary fix, and I've had it a few years now. So
yeah, I've had mine about 8 years.
Yeah, the cheap stuff really can last. And if my sound is a bit tinny compared to the professional mics on here, that's why.
And I can honestly tell you, your cell phones and my cell phone are more powerful than my computer. It's about 9 years old.
Don't we know it?
Yeah, I know.
Last weekend.
Yep.
Oh dear.
It's only going to get worse with cell phones and mobile phones.
Yep,
yeah, that's true. Hello, Cody. I am trying to share my one's details. Just it has come down in price since I bought it. Come on! Oh, it's refusing to. I've got it in a separate window. Come on. Talk amongst yourselves.
The joys of technology, eh?
The joys of technology, yes.
You have to admire the people that do set themselves up with a little studio at home. They've got backgrounds. They've got there's all kinds of things.
Well, like the streamers where they've got like a green screen at the back to sort of like make it all
Yep.
fade out.
Yeah.
I mean,
Got their own graphics. Yeah, intro music.
well, I mean, yeah.
Right.
So many of them also go like out and they spend quite a bit of money, but it's supposed to be like an investment for later on. But that's because that's their living. Like you don't see a lot of people like ourselves here who will go out and do that just for the sake of like, oh yeah, why not? Let's just have a green screen, or let's just have random things behind us.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I mean, you've got to have the content as well. I mean, I think John provides that with his guests, and not everyone can afford to. Obviously Rogan's paying quite a bit to get these interesting people on his podcast and ask them different questions. It's a different market, but it's about the content, really.
Oh,
I
definitely.
pay absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
In fact, I require blood from.
Listen, I've been paying before I even joined in blood. It's just it seems to be going to the wrong address.
Right.
I've been paying in humiliation. I got turned into a chicken.
Yes.
All right, let's get back onto topic. So, where we are enjoying to go adventuring, if quite effectively. But when it comes down to it, like, are there specific environments that we like to bring up for specific themes?
Mhm.
So, for example, when it comes to, I'm just going to use the swamp. Swamp provides a lot of mystery, especially once you start adding in hags, potentially the fae, or the horrors of what you might not see beneath the murky waters, or whether it is a log that's actually approaching you.
Or poison.
Diseases.
Exactly. But like, do you have environments that you go look at and go like, "Oh, these are really good for X theme or X adventure types"? Like, do you have that?
I like the maritime adventures because it can be both seaborne and then the destination on land. I have done a swamp adventure. I enjoyed it. Swamps are where renegades go to hide out. So there's plenty of story hooks.
I mean, there's a little bit of a difficulty in running an interesting maritime adventure, in that exactly how much do you hand wave? Because there's a lot of boredom at sea. And how much do you focus on that daily routine and the boredom in order to make the events stand out when they happen? But I think you have to introduce it in some way to make it feel like your characters are at sea. But it's a fine line you tread.
Yeah, I personally use the rules in the expert set, and then there normally are some interesting wandering encounters, but there are days that nothing happens. So the weather is this, your speed is that, and if there's no wandering monsters, then that's it. But I was a player in an adventure, and we had quite a enigmatic encounter at sea that it didn't result in combat, but it just just kind of opened our eyes a bit. So it's like a background setting the scene type thing.
Anyway, I do think we do need to say hello to Midu.
Oh, hi, greetings. I
Hello.
was just waiting for my turn politely. Can you hear me?
We can hear you great.
Absolutely.
Loud and clear.
Very, very clearly. Yes.
Thank God. Okay, I didn't disturb everyone. So, you guys have talked a lot about places to adventure in, but what about like a place to chill, to like camp in and meet with other characters?
Right.
That's where towns and cities coming. Adventurers Guild, Thieves Guild, Magic User Guild. If you
what's
want
your favorite out of these?
I like to go to the city, but I don't like to be based or from the city.
I tend to like, as I said earlier, I mentioned earlier in the stream, I tend to like small towns and village sort of environments where you get a cozy inn where everybody knows everybody. It's a place for rumors, but it's also a place for you to be able to have a manageable population of characters getting together, and it makes it easier to have those characters become involved in a more long term, because when I create NPCs, I do like them to be involved for more than 5 minutes, and
Yeah.
thus having a small town setting, one or two cozy inns, maybe an adventurers guild if you're doing that sort of thing. But the inn, people say, oh, it's a boring old trope. No. The inn is the staple of a good fantasy game. Which inn? Well,
Well,
I'm
what
trying to
about
think
you,
of.
Oscar?
In the Final Fantasy Fighting Fantasy book we were doing on Friday, that starts us off in a name.
It does, yeah.
So it depends on what level the players are. My Saturday group has reached up into name level, so they are currently 10th plus level at the moment. They have a mansion that they own, and they've got a number of other locations that they have populated with NPCs that they've hired along the ways. And that is a place where they have built for themselves. So
That's awesome.
I like the fact that at least in that campaign, my players have gone out of their way to build their area where they come back and they rest. They have got characters there who have either been hired. The head of security was a dwarf that was turned to stone during his own adventures that they freed, brought back out into the world, and he then learned that his home had been sacked by orcs. He had lost his wife and everything, and he had to start from scratch. So the players basically said, "Well, we don't have much. We've got this place that we're starting to build up. You can have a beginning with us. Like there are other dwarves in our community if you want to start afresh." And that's what they've done. And they've come across a wild elf as well, who has now become their what's it called, like master hunter, who looks after the forest that they own. Like all the characters have got backstories for how the players engaged with them and gave them an offer of like, well, if you want to, you can come and work as a part of the land, and you will be treated as an equal as far as we are concerned. And that's what populates their mansion. And I like that.
I
In terms
really
of
like that.
yeah, again, this is what
Yeah,
these
yeah.
players have built for themselves. In terms of what I give to the groups, well, I tell them that they have to make. I'm going to use modern terminology here, but the players invest into the world, and I give back in return for that. So if the players just need a place to sleep, rest, learn spells, and move on, I'm not going to give them much more of an investment. But if they stick around and start putting effort into it, then absolutely I will try to like bring something back to give them a sense of community. That was actually a big thing I did in my Shadowrun campaign. Before we even rolled any official, games or did any official, runs for the campaign, I had the players sit down and I gave them a 2x2 block, and I said, "You now have to build the community that lives in this block." And the players then sat down and they were given 5 slots for 5 major NPCs in 5 major locations that had to be filled out. Whether it was the corner shop, right? Well, this group basically made an area that was pure Balkan, Croatian, Serbians, the whole lot. And they made a corner shop that was run by everyone's favorite babushka. It was the corner lady. Everyone loved her. She was great. Everyone treated her like a grandmother. Even the local mobster was like, no, babushka. We pay respect to babushka. The players did this for themselves. They built this up themselves. So I like that when the players build into the world.
Well, that would increase their level of investment, wouldn't it? Because they've literally built it themselves almost.
I find that they do, and especially it's something I've started doing a lot more of turning around, especially if it's a game where I have the ability to allow the players to build into it. Is if we have a starting city, I'll turn around. It's like, well, you've lived here, or your character's from around here. What's a good tavern? Give me a name. Great. I'll turn to the next player. Right. that tavern is run by someone. His name is, and I'll give them a name, but there's a reason for why everyone likes that character, or there's a reason why he is important. What is that reason? And then they give a reason, and it sort of like goes on and on and on. Everyone contributes to that, so that they all feel that they've built up a tavern, but that tavern is then run by a former rogue who has now turned good, and it is kind of rumored he's still dabbling in thievery, but no one can prove anything. But people who seems to work with him and his tavern, they seem to be doing quite well for their own businesses. Who knows?
Yeah. For mid-level thieves, there's a ton of potential story hooks and adventures.
Yeah.
It's much more than just stealing things.
Yeah.
Saxius, of course, you had that approach to the Shadow of the Demon Lord game that we had.
Yes. Why don't you share?
I've shared it many times before. Many times.
Oh yes. Yes.
General Nut has said here, at me, if I like inns, why do we have to end in the taxman's, the thief's shop? This is referring to my my Saturday game. Have you noticed you always start in the inn? You get your work in the inn, or you gather together in the inn. You go into the dungeon, you make your profits, which vary in size, and the taxman gets it at the end of the day. Isn't there something true to life about that? The taxman, of course, in that game is Saxius.
Of course it is.
It is, yes. It is.
I have a reputation, and it proceeds into Fantasyland.
Player characters, you can always try and do something about Saxius if you want. I mean, it's up to you. If you feel he's fleecing you of too much.
You know, in I think it's the second most recent fighting fantasy book, there's actually a taxman in that book, and he literally follows you around. And if you take too long doing certain things, he'll catch up to you and do you in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Meagle, what game do you run?
You mean like the system or what?
Yes.
I make my own system.
Oh right, okay.
It's
what sort
pretty
of,
simple.
Is it fantasy based?
Yes, it is medieval fantasy.
Okay. And what's your inspiration for it? Do you have or is it just or do you just pull in from a variety of sources?
Oh, so many things. Like everything I see, I have to pick something from.
So, what sort of mechanics do you have in your system? Is it what I mean? Is it do you have multiple character races, for example, elves, dwarves, humans, all that sort of stuff, or is it more human based? And as you said in chat, you're from Jordan, which is a very, very different country to what we're used to. Do you pull from local sources there, or is it more European fantasy? I mean, I'm interested to find
fantasy. I don't usually pull from my culture, but so I use European fantasy, which is usually what inspired me to do D&D in the first place.
Right.
And about the races, there are a lot of races in the world, but the main group itself, it's based off mostly of the humans, but from different parts of the world. There's one elf so far.
So you're keeping other races to be somewhat aloof, making them feel a little more special by having them rare.
Yeah, and it's not like humans are all the same. I mean, I see people sometimes try to avoid playing humans when I see humans are pretty unique. They can
Absolutely.
be a lot of different things. We got a pirate, and we got a son of a hero, and we got someone who's a really religious knight. It's a lot of, and they're all humans.
Yes.
It's a lot of variety.
And the idea is humans are meant to provide the variety. That was the original point in a lot of these races.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it touches my cockles to hear that from someone who is of the younger generation. That you are playing in a way that I like.
It touches your what?
My
Yeah,
cockles.
right.
It's a turn of
Could someone
phrase.
check if he's on a list?
I hands off, everyone.
In Jordan, that might mean something different.
It's
In
alright.
Birmingham, that might mean something different.
It's meant to. It's the same as it warms my heart. It makes me feel
There, let's go
better.
for more
Yeah,
classical thing. It
I
touches
understood
my
it as that.
Yes,
Good,
I
good.
understood it as that, but my other foreign ears were going like, "It touches his what?" Because Brits tend to have very dirty minds, especially
Yeah,
John.
it's our fault. It's nothing on John.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just British people, isn't it?
Yeah, yes. Oh man, I'm genuinely pleased to hear that because we hear so much in gaming social media about how the current generation coming into gaming, they want the kitchen sink, they want the high fantasy, they want the epic fantasy. But it sounds like you are playing the type of game which isn't that way. It's a lot more natural, a lot more believable in it at its core. But with fantasy coming in, what's the best? Coming in sparingly, but that actually makes the fantasy feel stronger when it happens.
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to do that. I mean, there isn't like a lack of magic or something. There's plenty of that, but I'm trying to keep it to the basics. Because from like my past experience, well, I don't have a lot of, but from my previous campaigns, whenever I go like too much, the campaign like gets bloated and there's too much to manage. So I decided to keep it to the basics and not go into too much details and like use everything sparingly.
Yes,
Too much
of
is
course.
like too less.
And of course, if you've got this solid grounding, this solid logic behind it, and you've got that believability behind it, it's much easier to improvise. It's much easier to make things feel logical on the spur of the moment.
That's my whole style, man. Improvise, adapt, overcome.
Good.
Well played,
Good.
well played, Mido.
Yes. Welcome, Manfred, to the stream.
أهلا وسهلا.
أهلين هلا هلا.
Did you join the
Okay,
stream,
it's actually
Manfred, just to show off? Just to show off.
Yes, he did.
أنا أتكلم اللغة العربية قليلا شوي.
Yes, they've
لا
been
حلو
saying that in
تمام
the
تمام
chat.
عادي. Sexy,
They
you
were
might
going
want to get us all back on topic.
Yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry.
I'm stepping in here because I did see you guys talking about let's just join so that we can
Yeah.
speak Arabic on the
And,
stream. It's like I know,
yeah.
I saw.
I'm
No,
too
no,
shy
no.
to take over.
He's too shy to take over. That speaks for you.
Actually, though, Madhu, to be fair, considering you live in Jordan, your English is really good.
It's very
Yeah.
good.
I've
Yes,
played a lot of games and watched a lot of movies.
I
I'm not
mean
gonna
that
credit
is
that to school.
That's as good a way as any to learn English.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of my friends have said the same thing. It's like I didn't learn English in school. I learned English by playing video games.
Yes.
That's actually very apt.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
I will step out because we are now getting we've got like 7 people now, so I'll let other people have a chance.
I would rather go than you. I have nothing to say. I just wanted
Ah.
to speak a little Arabic and show off a little bit.
Well done, Manfred. You've showed off.
And showed
So
off you did.
I'll go back. I'll go back out again.
He just wanted to prove you and me both wrong, John.
Yes. Salam.
Walaikum assalam.
Right. Cheers, Manfred. So, Midu, the guys who are on here at the moment have been in and out of my channel for quite a while. We play on that Discord that you've joined every weekend. Graham was in the first group that I ran on there, which was an AD&D game. I played in a game that Oscar ran, Shadows of the Demon Lord. Daniel seemingly plays in whatever games I run quite happily. And Iman has just started playing. He's pretty new to the whole hobby.
Not even level 2 yet.
He's never got a character to level 2 yet. He found me by complete accident while I was reading a book on a Friday. So
I don't believe in coincidences, though, John.
So I am extending the offer I always extend to people. If you wish to come and join us for a game on a Saturday, you are more than welcome. It may or may not be the sort of game you enjoy, but that offer is there. And a lot of the people in the chat come and play as well.
Thank you. I appreciate the offer. I will see if I have the time. I don't want it to affect on my campaign or on anything else, but if I get the time, I'm more than glad to join in.
Brilliant.
Well, the good thing about John's sessions is that they sort of drop in, drop out. So
you don't have to commit for long term. Like you can't just show up, play like an hour or two, and then if you got to go somewhere, you can just drop out and come back in later.
My problem is that I get too committed to stuff like that, especially things I like.
That's not a problem.
That's not a problem. That's a
yeah. See, that's the beginning of the right form of addiction that you need.
That's funny because I actually changed my work schedule for Saturday mornings. I used to always take Sunday off. Now I always take Saturday off. So, yeah.
That's commitment.
That's prioritization.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just like we're like, oh no, I can't work on these days. Something's come up. It's quite important. It's like,
well,
oh yeah, of course.
I told my boss that 2 weeks ago, because I do another plant every third Sunday. They wanted to do it Saturday. Said I ain't doing it. So I'll do Sunday, but not Saturday. So
that's the commitment GM's like.
Absolutely. Right.
Sorry for interrupting.
That's all right. Let's steer. I'm going to do the Saxious bit here and steer us back towards the topic.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask both Iman and Midu if you have the things we were discussing, specific sort of locations that would interest you, do interest you, things you want to see in the games that you play. I know you don't have much experience, Iman, but what sort of location would interest you as a player?
Are we talking about like a type of location or a specific location that I've encountered?
Either.
So in the Final Fantasy book, The Sword of the Samurai, there's a bit, I think maybe halfway, 2/3 of the way through the book, where you end up in this place called the Tourney of the Plains. It's basically just the hub area before like the final showdown with the boss. But based on which path you've taken through the book, you choose different doors in this place, and each of these places is completely different to each other. None of them link to each other in any way, and they're all different environments. I think there's 8 in total. And you can either successfully or unsuccessfully try and get the, I don't know what you would call it, but like the ally from each of these places on your side for the final boss. So you could go into like a forest and find like an enchantress, or you'd go like to the sea and get like a sea serpent, that sort of thing. It was really cool.
Are you familiar with you probably won't be, but there's a D&D setting called Planescape.
Oh, okay. I love Planescape.
And there is a city in that, which is like a hub for the worlds.
City of Sigil. Yeah.
Yep.
City of Doors.
Sigil, however you want to pronounce it. and that is intended to be like a gateway to all the worlds, all the planes of existence.
Okay.
So I wonder if that sort of thing would appeal to you.
Well, it does appeal. It does sound like similar. The reason that this area in particular really stood out to me was because it's not at the start of the book. It's like literally maybe halfway, 2/3 of the way through. So it's kind of, it splits the book up into like the pre-bit and the boss bit, if that makes sense. It's like, you've been through that all of that bit of the book, right? Now you get to choose your allies, sort of thing.
Also, if you did a campaign like that or an adventure like that, you'd be getting points for making allies, XP for allies, rather than just the hack and slash approach.
Okay.
Yeah, of course. And that's what as far as I'm concerned, what a good DM would do, because the negotiations and the forming of alliances is all part of the adventuring experience, which should count towards pure experience totals.
Yeah, especially if you make the potential enemies kind of more numerous than the party.
General Nut, 8-year-olds game. I know it's a tongue-in-cheek comment. But,
it would have to be a fairly gifted 8-year-old with a fantastic imagination, which some do have, I'm sure.
And I certainly wouldn't inflict that on any 8-year-old.
I wouldn't
And then
inflict that on
there's
myself.
8-year-old me reading Warlock of Firetop Mountain, like.
So, Midu, do you have any sort of favourite sort of locations?
Yes, well, I didn't have too much experience as a player because most of the campaigns I've been in like went downhill. It's like a curse. But some
happens.
stuff that would pique my like interest. Something big like the sea because it's open-ended. You could end up anywhere. Like a ship sailing, or
You were saying
maybe
that earlier, weren't you, Graham?
Yeah,
like
and that's one of the attractions. It's an open-ended, or you can sail to a location, do your adventure, and come back. Depends how long you want to play for.
I don't know how familiar you are, Midu, with a lot of the older D&D stuff, but people have mentioned an old adventure called the Isle of Dread earlier. Have you ever encountered that?
Nope, not too familiar with that stuff.
Let me just get an image. If anyone's got an image of it available before I bring it up, that would be great. But otherwise, I'm locating it. So of course, I have it as a PDF.
I've got it. Just a second here.
I've got it. Ready. I've got it. Oh, you were quicker than me. But no. I see. I have it as I've got the PDF open, so I'll use the PDF that I've got. I was just locating.
John just pulled the "that's not a knife, this is a knife" move.
Right, there we are. Okay, so the Isle of Dread. General Nut says not great. Rate it 3 out of 10. He doesn't like it. Hello, a nerd's nerd. How you doing? If you like, the seaborne element of this is quite a small part. The essence of this adventure is it is a lost world. It's a lost island with all the old sort of tropes from Lost World type films. However a million years BC or whatever it was, and things like that. You've got dinosaurs, you've got tribesmen, you've got various flying creatures and things in the forests. But one of the nice things about that, if you look at this map, that's the player's map. See how little is mapped on the inside of it?
Yeah.
That's for the players to explore. It's a wonderful exploration adventure. And it's one that acts as a pure sandbox for the DMs to... There's a lot of suggestions in there. A lot of the areas are fleshed out. There's world maps. I mean, that's the full island. But there's so much scope for the DMs to add to it and create little plot lines within this lost island. It's got pirates on the island. It's got tribesmen, dinosaurs, and various fantastical creatures. So it's the sort of thing that can really act as an inspiration if you want the idea of a sea-bound adventure, perhaps landing on a lost world.
Yeah, really good idea.
TSR were kind of experimenting with a wilderness adventure campaign as opposed to various types of dungeons, and they also produced a continental map or part of a continent, which was part the known world, which is part of the start. There you go. Yeah, so that map was populated at over the years after the Isle of Dread was released, and a lot of people knew about it because it was given away with the expert set a lot of the time.
Now, Sorian has asked me what I think of this cover. I loved it when I was a kid. It annoys me now because that's meant to be a T-Rex, and T-Rexes don't have arms like that.
It's a dragon turtle, isn't it?
I thought that was a
That
T-Rex.
looks to me like a dragon turtle.
It was a dragon turtle, and you wouldn't see one on land like that, I don't think. But
I'm pretty sure that's a T-Rex.
No, it's not a dragon turtle. No.
It doesn't matter. It's a monster.
No, it don't, because like John said, it was really cool when you were 10 years old, and now it's like, really? Look at, like...
Yeah, it looks cringe.
Yeah, exactly. And I was looking for the right word.
I prefer the back cover. I think that back cover image is a lot better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's way cooler.
Oh, yeah, you got the hot blonde with no armor, or redhead with no armor.
It's more edgelordy, so I'm not sure if Bear would like it, but...
The orange cover does have a T-Rex. It's more like what the cover's suggesting. You've got an island, some natives, and strange large creatures.
Halakar says it's an allosaur. I still don't think allosaurs had arms like that with big hulking muscles.
I don't think anything has arms like that.
Whatever it is, it's been hit in the gym.
Yeah,
yes,
that's true.
But that's an idea for. I mean, there are other adventures which have incorporated sea-bound stuff. Halakar's mentioned the Sinister Secret of Salt Marsh. Yes, but that's a port setting and a coastal setting rather than sea-bound. But it's a lovely adventure. Really good.
I don't think a lot of official modules has done a lot with the sea purely because of the hazards that the sea brings, as well as the inability to focus players on a storyline when you come to such a setup. So it's not really something that a lot of modules would be doing. But as a freeform or a sandbox idea, it's probably going to be great.
Yeah. It depends how much you want to commit to things like underwater combat, which kind of changes everything. It changes spells. It changes.
Well, what about naval combat?
Yeah.
Well, there's
Like to come across another ship.
There's a bit of naval combat in the expert set, and there's quite a bit of it in the Gazetteer for Ierendi, where it goes into more detail.
Let
Also,
me lean in and
in
ask the
the-
question.
Hmm?
So go on. Well, I just
was
wanted
gonna
to
say,
lean in and ask the question of, can your character swim? Because all of a sudden, being grappled and thrown overboard, that is a lovely thing for a
Your
DM to
armor,
do.
your weapons.
Well,
Yeah,
why
blood,
would you
blood,
have?
blood,
Why
blood,
would you?
blood.
Why would you have anything that is chainmail on a ship? You won't.
Exactly.
You-
That's the
you-
thing. So your fighters become just high hit point thieves at best.
Well, that or you're going to be playing high dexterity swashbucklers, and now you're going to be swinging from them ropes and making some acrobatics rolls,
Yep.
or you're just going to have to learn how to swim.
Yep.
Go on, John. You wanted to say something.
I was going to say, if you want ship combat and things like that, there was a second edition AD&D supplement called Of Ships and the Sea, I believe.
Yes, I have it.
Oh, I've heard of this. Don't know how.
Yes.
And that introduced sort of the more Elizabethan type era with big galleons and that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Which it might be expensive to get hold of it now, but
I did not see the value in that. Naval.
I'm broke.
Aren't we all?
we have ways of getting things. The stream is already demonetized. I haven't monetized the stream anyway, so I'm just saying we have ways of getting things.
You can find them. If it's the one I'm thinking of, it goes into too much. I think there's another one with a blue cover, and it goes into too much detail unless you really want to spend a long campaign on an underwater adventure.
I'm just thinking like a couple of chapters of my campaign will be in the sea, but not all of it.
Does that underwater combat thing, involve like breathing or oxygen or anything like that as a mechanic?
Well, yeah, so you're already going to be having from the DMG the whole rules on how long you can hold your breath underneath. So you need magical. Most of these solutions you're going to have is going to be magical. You're also going to have the problem that once you go underneath water and you fight underneath water, your movement is halved because you're going to be slow underwater. Whereas most of the enemies are going to be at depth for that, and they're going to be swimming around you in laps. That's why spells like I can't remember what it's called. Like there's a spell that basically will allow you to move through things like webs, and it doesn't slow you down when you move.
A ring of
through
free
things
action
like
will do that.
Yes, free action. That's the one. Like ring of free action, amulet of free action. There are spells of free action as well. These are the things you need to go in there because otherwise you are going to be slowed down and you are going to be at such a bad disadvantage. Don't forget about light, because when you get into the deeper parts of the sea, you're not going to have very well light. There's also going to be obscurity, which is going to be down to the fact that your characters are going to be walking through mud and sludge. And when you start fighting, that's going to start rising up. And then all of a sudden, you might as well be inside a very thick, spell of fog because you can't see.
Correct.
So this is the transition from like third level up to things like 10th level, where players have had the chance to accumulate the necessary magic items and potions. At third or fourth level, it's quite easy to bite off more than you can chew in a big open-ended campaign.
You can also turn it around, and if you want it to be third and fourth level, there can be clever expeditions. One I know has been done in the past is think of like the old bell towers.
Diving bell things. Yeah.
Like the diving bells. You can use that to then go down for a limited time period to fetch things up or to get down and have air pockets to then go out, swim, and come back up. These are things that the players can then arrange, but they would have to be under like an expedition where they are the expendable chaff that was going to go out and do with things. However, you can also be doing the opposite of like they go down into the sea, they come into the grotto, and then there is a breathable air pocket where they can then encounter things and interact with things. There are
like
ways
an underwater cave.
Exactly. So there are ways for you to circumvent the need of being high level. You just have to look at it from how can you bring breathable air downstairs or down into the water, or how can you circumvent it, like magical potions or magical? I mean, we're going to use Harry Potter for this, like the gillweed, where you can suddenly breathe underwater. There's a method for why they can do it. You just now have to bear in mind what their level are and what the dangers are that they would encounter in that environment. I mean, you don't want to go into the water after dark. That there are so many predators that's going to be coming out after you.
Yeah. The 5th edition remake or extension of the Isle of Dread does have one of those diving bell type things, and there's a druid on one of the islands where you can trade for potions of water breathing and things like that. So there's kind of a bit of an introduction at levels 3 and 4 for later adventures.
Now, when I ran the game that Graham played in, we played this adventure, and there's a massive portion of this adventure that is underwater. And the whole idea of the adventure is to perform a reconnaissance mission on a heavily defended underwater base. And the adventure does provide you with some ability to work underwater, but you are a little bit limited in terms of your time frame, and you're certainly not in your own environment. It was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Graham? It was.
It's a case where the enemy is too numerous to take them all on at once.
Absolutely.
I do also want to point out for everyone in here, just remember, casting Fireball, assuming you find a way to cast it without having to speak, is going to have limited effects. But casting Lightning Bolt, ooh, now we're going to get into some interesting things, like how much murkiness is in that water. Because all of a sudden, because remember, if we remember our physics, most of the electricity travels because of the particles in the water. So clear water.
Free electrons.
Exactly. See, suddenly paying attention in science.
Yeah, I've got a not university, but a level below in chemistry.
Yeah.
But that's like casting a fireball in a tavern.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
But see, so like in 2nd edition, what they did was that they basically said, like, okay, you cast lightning bolt, but the point, so most lightning bolts are going to be from your fingers. You point, it shoots out, and then it goes off in whatever direction. The rules in 2nd edition says that the moment the lightning bolt makes contact with water, that creates a 20-foot cube of electricity of everyone being affected. Well, with that logic, if you can transfer the lightning bolts into crossbow bolts and have a crossbow or anything of similar ingenuity where it uses the force to push something through the water, and then once it hits, it will initiate the lightning. Well, now you have a more easier way of countering your enemies on the water.
I'm thinking, I don't know how it would work, but like a lightning grenade.
Yes, that's exactly it. But
Yeah,
it would be
that's
like
the idea.
so
Like an EMP, basically, but like the opposite.
Exactly.
Could you perhaps keep the spell in a flask of like a glass, bottle,
Lightning in a bottle? I don't see
Lightning in
why
a
not.
Yeah. And
I
then
don't
just
see
shoot
why
it
not.
off a crossbow.
Hey, catch! Hey, what's this?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see why not. Again, if the DM allows some of this ingenuity of like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, or let's find a way of doing this, why not? The likelihood of you ever doing underwater encounters is very slim. Why not allow the ingenuity of the players to like really play here? Because once they realize this door is creaking open, oh, they're gonna go rushing through. You're gonna see some bonkers things.
What they did when Graham's group played through this, they got to the top of the water, and then layered a load of oil on top of the surface of the water as all the underwater creatures were surfacing, and set fire to the oil. And thus, because oil floats on top of water, creating this massive wall of fire, which obviously bought them a lot of time.
Yeah, I think there was we used a bottleneck as well. I think one of those gazetteers is called PC3, the Sea People, and I think this is the one that goes into a bit too much detail about underwater combat. So it can be as detailed or as simple as you need it to be.
Well, yeah, it's the same if we used the survival guides from first edition. The survival guides to wilderness and the survival guides to dungeons and to dungeons and caves. They go into extraordinary details, but it's about what you need. Like using which one is it again? Not survival. Dungeoneers, the Dungeoneers guide. Having the idea of like not all pathways is going to be a 5 foot by 5 foot. No, having some of them just being 3 feet wide, and having the warriors having to go out of their armor, slather themselves in oil, and then slip their way through to get to the next part. That's just fun from my side.
I've just seen hello, Slan. You've crept in. Yeah. Good to see you, Slan. How's work treating you? Slan, of course, has been in quite a few of our streams, and currently his job is preventing him from doing so. But good to see you popping in, Slan. But yes, having environmental obstacles, use them sparingly, but use them meaningfully. If you throw them in all the time, they can become an absolute pain in the backside. But use them when they matter. Use them when it's like with the weather. Use weather when it matters, when it's meaningful, but don't overly stress on it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to refer to my little thing of like me keeping track of the entire year for my second edition game, including the weather, how hot it is, how cold it is, and so forth, because that's something that I like to keep a track of, because we have had moments where it got so unbearably warm that I looked at the group and was like, if only any of you were something like chainmail, I would have given you exhaustion and had you do constitution rolls. But no, my second edition group was all running around in like leather armor and avoiding having anything like that to slow them down. Bastards. could have had them for dead when they went trekking through the woods in in Celsius. It was like 38 degrees Celsius.
As you say, it's only the extremes that really matter for that sort of thing, isn't it? Most days they're fine, but those days when the wind really, really whips up,
or
the heavens really open and lightning starts crashing, they'll happen.
Just the visibility of the visibility of heavy rain. No, it's just like, oh, you can't see that far. There you go. That's like fog. It's wonderful. And a blizzard, especially if you're in an Arctic environment, that blizzard's not going to stop after a day. No, that keeps on going. You're going to be stuck in that tent if you brought a tent. I hope you brought a tent, because cabin fever might just set in before you get to see the sun again.
If you've not met Saxius before me, this is Saxius. Saxius is he's a self-proclaimed one of the most evil DMs out there. And that, which is why when I'm going to bring up the Shadow of the Demon Lord game, which is why we pushed him in the Shadow of the Demon Lord game as far as you can possibly push a DM and still be fair. I think we were fair.
I think I had to be fair. You pushed that. I don't know how many times I just wanted to go, you know what, I'm just going to have these guards show up and hang characters now. I think there was twice in that campaign where you guys pushed me and I had the guards just walk over to the barn where you all lived looking for you, because I was just going, you know what, I've had enough. I'm just going to have them like pick up any of your characters. And somehow, through crude methods and throwing other characters underneath the bus, you just had other people that took the blame and be hung and killed while you then snuck away and did more insanity. Good grief.
And fair play, you ran with our nonsense. You ran with it.
Yes, I did. No, it did. I'm not gonna go into details now. We talked about it enough. And Midu, if you want to hear the stories, just ping me on Discords. I will write out the horrors of what John.
I will.
He's plotting his revenge as we speak.
When I carve out some free time on Saturdays, I will start another campaign. I'll invite everyone to play again. I'll see if I can get John wrangled in. I'm just gonna start torturing his characters. Just no remorse.
Pustule wants to play.
That's fine. Pustule can play. I am gonna show him what the real pain is with iron.
You have to catch him first, Mike.
Oh Christ! It's a good game though. Shadow of the Demon Lord is a great game. Like it allows for some fantastic setups. Anyways,
where were we?
Well, we were talking about environments, and you just had to talk about, I just get excited about the things you can subject the players to.
One of my favourite locations in any game I've ever played is that Goblin Barn.
All right. Go on. Midu has not heard the stories. Go on.
I think, Saxious, you should tell the story of the Goblin Barn. It was wonderful.
Why is it always back to me? Why are we bickering about this?
You're a good storyteller.
A good storyteller, yes.
Right, all right, Midu, it's story time. I hope you're ready.
I'm ready. I'm bracing myself. Go on.
All right. So, Shadow of the Demon Lord is
trying to listen, but...
Go on.
I am trying to listen, but Middle Eastern internet be going hard right now.
Fair enough. Again, drop me a note on Discord. I will share the entire story there. I'll entertain Imam in the meantime.
I mean, it works for a bit and then it doesn't. That's why I mute myself.
Fair enough. So basically, Shadow of the Demon Lord, the group had basically showed up, and it's a rather dark setting. It's not exactly forgiving, and you start out at level 1. Sorry, not even level 1. You start at level 0. Like, you are bottom of the bottom. You're playing as NPCs, and similar to DCC, you're going to have to go through a funnel of just watching a lot of characters potentially die. So the group showed up, and you are allowed to play as goblins. But not just like typical D&D goblins. No, fey goblins, meaning you cannot touch metals that is iron. Meaning most of the goblins were armed with bone daggers, stone knives, like literally like bow and arrows made out your wits and your, I wouldn't even call it brains. It's more just like lack of survival instincts.
Okay.
That got them together, and everyone were goblins. And their first, the first thing I basically set up was, right, you are goblins, you are secondary citizens. Like, everyone treats you like crap. You are not worthy of anything. Slaves have more rights than you. Where do all of the goblins live? And naturally, the entire group just went, we live in a barn, an abandoned barn. We live with the animals. So it's like, right, that's where you belong, and that's where you're going to be playing. And then it was like, okay, well, let's establish the barn. What's the hierarchy? When are you allowed to live in the barn? It's like, well, you can only be in the barn if you're employed, which means every goblin is out there looking for any work whatsoever. With the big, bring the group together event being that every character has recently been fired from their job. So John's character used to work in a pub, and apparently because he decided that to give more spice to the food, he would go over the food and just rub into his hair, having dandruff falling down onto the food as additional stuff. And he got kicked out. He was unemployed and unworthy of living in the barn. Scrounging up other fellow unemployed people who couldn't find the line for the local employment center. They went looking for a job. As they were looking, they passed by a farm, and they're like, we're kind of hungry. We're going to climb the fence. After which they realized that a farm has got guard animals, like a dog. I believe that one of the characters I believe he basically got mauled close to death because of that. With John's character barely escaping and climbing into a scarecrow to hide himself because the farmhands were also after him and wanted to beat. Well, they wanted to beat him to death. Why? He's a goblin. We can do that. What happened after that, John? Didn't you end up burying one of the dead characters? Go over. You found the Undertaker.
Oh yes.
The Undertaker.
One of the character got mauled by a dog, believed he was dead.
Yes.
And he went through the game believing he was dead. So when we found an Undertaker who was digging a grave, what do you do if you're dead?
Get buried.
Yeah,
you get buried.
Dead.
Yeah.
So it's the first time I've ever seen a player willingly walk a live character into a freshly dug grave and let themselves be buried alive, and thus lose a character that way.
Yeah. And the gravedigger then said, listen, there are many people out there who are technically dead, but they don't know it. Your job is now to go out and make sure that they understand that they're dead. And his first target was just some random kid that he had to pick on. And
it was a farmhand. Yes,
It's a farmhand, yes. And lo and behold, I believe it was General Nutt who initiated a lot of backstabbing. You found the farmhand, you found the chicken coop, you snuck your way into the chicken coop, and I will regret ever allowing you doing this. The group convinced themselves that in order to be invisible, they had to have chickens on their head. So they stole chickens, tied them to their heads, tried to hide inside of the chicken coop with all the chickens going bark, 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 catching the attention of the farmhand who comes over to find out what is going on. All the goblins going, this is working. He can't see us, hiding amongst the fluttering, chickens that are all over the place. The farmhand coming in, realizing, oh my god, there's so much going on here. And he doesn't see the three goblins with chickens tied around their head who is fluttering back and forward like their life depends on it, sneaking up on the poor man. Then they stab him in his thigh, stabbing in his calves, bring him down. And I think your character, John, just rather than having a knife or anything on, just picked up a rock and just began beating this poor person into a pulp. And it was just decided, like, yes, we have done it. We have convinced this person he is dead. We have done the world a service. He understands he needs to be buried. But we've got to go now because it sounds like his mom is really pissed. They ran out stealing 2 chickens, by the way, because chickens are delicious. After which, I think there was another individual who just showed. It was an ongoing joke about, like, okay, well, you're running with the chickens, but how well are you choking the chicken? And that joke went on for, like, I don't know how many.
It's how we kill chickens. We choke the chicken.
Yes, you choke the chickens. John's character, incidentally, also had a compulsion that anything that he owns, he has to lick. So he had to describe his character running along with the chicken, going nah, nah, like it was a lollipop.
But it was more like, if I lick something, I take ownership of it.
But yeah, you have to lick it. Anyway, that was the introduction to Shadow of the Demon Lord. That was the insanity I had to deal with, and trust me, that was normal. The level of insanity these people pushed me into just went into the grave, beyond the grave, into the first layer of the Underdark, past mental Barrison, and then into the first, or if not the third layer of the abyss before they went, listen, we're going at an angle 90 degrees down, let's go. And that's where, when I introduced giants into the world, that was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Poor guy.
I mean, the moments along the lines of I became king of the goblins, didn't I? Because I licked the barn.
No, John. No, you're not saying this right.
And I married the goblin shaman, didn't I?
John, you are missing out on key information. You started a riot
Okay.
to distract the entire barn from you running around and licking every single piece of wood, splintering your tongue. And then when they came back in, you declared loudly, holding your tongue out in real life, I am the owner of this barn, because you had licked everything. However, to make sure that there was no civil war, because we can't have that, people will be unemployed during a civil war, you turned around and you declared that you now have to marry this shaman. Granny, what did we call her again?
Granny Herpes.
Granny Herpes, there we go, because we're goblins and we're disgusting and we are childish. Thank you very much. You married Granny Herpes, who also what happened? Was she? No. So you were marrying her as she was in the middle of dying. She was ill.
Dying of old age.
She was dying of old age. Yeah, she was dying of old age during during that event. I don't know who, and I can't remember how, but somehow someone stole the bell of the bell tower of the town to have it above you, and someone misjudged the entire thing and ended up cutting the rope so it fell down on top of you with the goblin shaman in there, killing the goblin shaman. However, one of the players declared out, "Oh, they're doing the deed. Give them privacy." And John's character being knocked out, the shaman being killed, it was just decided that's it. That is the marriage. I am at a loss of words for what these players have put me through.
If anyone has any objection, let them speak now.
Pretty much. And still somehow the players found a way of making it worse than that. Again, it's a memory of its own. And I don't think I can go into further details without putting John's YouTube into serious problems, because it gets graphic. Christ.
So, yes, anyway, that's why one of my favourite places to adventure, or my favourite adventuring locations ever, has been our barn.
You mean your barn?
My barn, with the pot that we had to put our food into.
Which you licked, and obviously now all the food's yours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You cannibalized your own wife. God.
And we ended up having two pots. One for the goblins that were in the upper society, and one for the goblins in the lower society, didn't we? And a special pot and all sorts of things went in that pot.
As well as the segregation of goblins from the rest of society, there's also segregation between goblins.
What's the difference?
I don't know. Honestly, like at this point, it was the players who they found a way to bring all of these terrible ideas in. I think someone also introduced religion to the goblins in a very bad way. You ended up having how many riots did you? I think you did 4 riots in total, because I know twice I had the.
And you cursed my. Remember, you cursed my character.
Yeah, I did.
With a conscience.
Yes, I did. Your character actually knew what it was like doing terrible things, and I think you just went into a coma because of that. I think that's how the campaign ended. Like you going into a coma, another person just realizing, I can't remember what I did to General Nuts, because he
had his cognitive dissonance and his body just shut down.
I think the majority of the players who survived at the very end, their characters either went into a coma or became borderline suicidal because of the curses that I had placed upon them. Again, this is not the best depiction of what Shadow of the Demon Lord is like, but They sure did try to push me to my furthest, and they almost got me twice at rage quitting.
This is because you've got this aura around you, Saxius, of being a tough dungeon master, one who can deal with the most challenging of players. So I think we just took it on ourselves to challenge you, but in a creative manner, using the world and using the tools available to us.
You pushed him to limits that he didn't know he had previously until that moment.
Oh, thankfully I've come out somewhat stronger and worse because of that.
And I tell you what, the whole game was fabulous. It was great. I highly recommend Saxius running Shadow of the Demon Lord if you ever want to play.
That is something.
I know it's one of those games of like you have to be there to enjoy it. It's when I tell the story, it
It's
goes
like a fever dream.
yeah, exactly. Not like yes, a fever dream is the best way to describe it. Because
General Nutt's sleeping bag.
Oh fuck off. That's an inside reference, and I'm not going to describe it because again, YouTube will pick up on the words that I'll be using, and it's not going to be good.
Sorry, I do apologise. That was possibly the funniest moment in any game in the history of role playing, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, for other favourite, let's go back to other favourite locations. I think we need to go to Saxius, seeing as I've just tormented Saxius. Saxius, a favourite location
that I like to put my players through.
Yes.
Oh boy, swamps are delicious, aren't they? The things you can make them go through, the sudden manholes or death traps that they can accidentally wander into, and not to mention the amount, as I said earlier, the mystery you can place in there, illusions, the will-o'-wisps, wandering into a hag's hut and be like, oh shit, do we want to deal with anything? With her going, it's all right, dearie. I'll show you the way. It's just going to cost you a small favor. I go, no. Do we want to deal with this? No. They're just going to go, that's fine, dearie. You'll be back in no time. Only for them to realize the illusions brings them back. It's great. You can do things in there. It's just like swamps are just, there's a reason why players that I've run for just look at swamps and go, no, we're not going in there. We're not going in there. I don't want to deal with sturges. I don't want to deal with even if it's not like swamps like Louisiana. No, it's not even Louisiana, but like Florida swamps where it's nice and warm and you've got alligators. Even if it's like cold swamps, like the ones where it's
juicy leeches.
Exactly, leeches, or the fact that when you go into the water, it is cold. You will have involuntary gas by submerging yourself into the waters. You will lose core body temperature. Think of also the howling winds, the dead trees, the lack of food you're going to be coming across. Tracking is going to be horrific. You can't go in a straight line. No, because you'll be going into a manhole and you'll drown. Having too much gear on you, that's a drowning. Having too much weight on you, well, now you're in a sinkhole. The mud is taking you. Would you look at that? You're stuck. And the sturges.
That poor horse in Never-Ending Story.
It's a life teaching moment. We've all learned from that. That's why you don't go into the swamps. I swear I try to be a fair DM. I'm just saying that if you go into a swamp, I may just give you an experience.
I'm not a sadist, I promise.
Listen. I didn't do this. You did this. You walked in here. I'm just bringing you what you asked for, sir.
You asked for this.
Exactly. I am just delivering what you asked me to give you, which is beatings until morale improves.
I've just thought of another adventuring location that I love. I'm just going to quickly download something, so bear with me. I don't think I've got this. I have to transfer this PDF.
Yes,
all these on my old computer.
Omenal is pointing out correctly that it does very much depend on the type of swamps that we're talking about. But I think I make my intentions quite clear. I I'll be a bastard if it's a swamp, but there are a lot of opportunities that you can do anywhere from like lost cities, lost temples, just the things you can find is just incredible in
The
such areas.
speaking of swamps, in the Dragonlance series of books, which I don't care for Dragonlance, but some of the novels were okay. There's the one Weasel's Luck starts it out. It's with this kid called Galen, who's like this little Weasley. He should have been a thief, but he gets wrangled into being a knight's apprentice, and they ended up in a swamp, being harassed by centaurs and stuff. If you want a good idea on running a swamp, I recommend that one book.
Nice.
Just about to present something. Yes, I've attacked a party in Merp recently with Nika Breakers.
That
What's
and
that?
Do
there's
you know
a
what Nika
guy.
Breakers are?
What is
Not
that?
awesome.
I'm sorry.
Nika Breakers are they're most famous for living in the Midgewater marshes just outside Bree.
Cool. I like that.
Little buzzing things, but this is specific locations in adventures.
No,
Can anyone name the adventure that this particular map comes from?
No, I cannot.
It's got a very boring name, the Evil Abbey.
Yeah.
Very,
no,
very boring
that
name.
does not stick out.
I wonder if somebody recognizes this. No,
Wait,
it's
is
not
this
Pasalamba.
again? Is this again one of your favorite things?
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. Actually, I do have that module though.
Okay. It's a wonderful one. It's one of my favorite adventuring locations. That's them arriving at the Evil Abbey. Really nice Parkinson artwork there. And I wonder. Oh, look at these. Look at these. Oh, aren't they horrific? Aren't they truly horrific? But, I just think it's a really interesting. This was before I got into any Call of Cthulhu sort of stuff, and this is a really sort of dark. These are really dark adventuring location in basic and expert D&D. I think it's wonderful. I mean, I loved this when I was 11, 12 years old. And I'd never seen anything related to horror, but it was a potentially horrific place to adventure with all sorts of horror elements wrapped up in cuddly D&D.
Not too scary for you, John.
No, not at all. Not at all. There we go. And I believe isn't Bud the Hindi word for ghost? Imam?
don't
Do you
know.
know?
I wouldn't know, mate. I can check. We call them jinn, so
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I thought it. I believe it's a Hindi / Urdu word for ghost.
it may very well be.
Anyhow, very, very. It's quite a linear adventure, but that is an excellent.
Oh, it is an Indian word. Ghost, demon, goblin. Yeah, you're right.
There we go.
Indian, though. Yeah.
Yes.
So it must be like Hindi or one of those other similar languages.
I believe it is. Yeah. Believe it is. But I just love the whole feel of this adventure. It was quite linear, but a lot of fun. Master of the Desert Nomads by David Cook. I bought it because of the cover.
Fair enough.
Anyhow. That's
I'm
X4.
going. Oh, sorry for interrupting. I'm gonna excuse myself now. This was really cool. I'm
Well, no,
gonna go.
it's got to be close to 3 a.m. for you now, isn't it? So
It is 2:40.
yes.
Well, I was gonna
Wow.
sleep way earlier, but you guys got me excited, you know. I can't resist when somebody talks about roleplay.
Did he warm your
So,
cockles?
no.
Well,
Yeah, that
welcome to the
happened
Discord.
indeed.
Welcome to the Discord. I can see you've joined. I do hope to see you in some of the games that we're having over the weekends and potentially weekdays in the new year.
You probably will.
Alright,
Thank you
awesome.
all.
Well,
Have
thanks
a
for
good
joining us,
evening.
mate.
Have a
Thanks
good
Oh,
for
you're
one.
welcome, mate. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, great to have you here.
Thanks, everyone.
Right.
Are you going as well, Graham?
I am, yeah.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for the chat.
All right.
Good
Nice
night,
to meet you.
Graham. Good
Have a
night.
good night.
And you.
See ya.
Take care.
So, if anybody else would like to pop in and refill these seats that have been kept lovely and warm, you're more than welcome to do so. You all know where the link is.
Is Manfred still there?
I mean, Manfred can pop back in if he wishes to, and we have an Omanal lurking as well, who often joins
Ooh,
in
an
around
Omanal.
this sort of time. But hang on, we've only got 20 minutes left. That's just long enough for Omanal to make 1 point. Omanal, we love you, mate. We love you, mate. So I think we've pretty much hammered the topic, haven't we? Sort of the sort of locations we like, lots of little ideas in there, fun places to adventure. I think, as if by magic, here he is.
That's right.
Inspector
Hello,
Gadget.
Omanal.
What's that?
Are we going to see the Inspector Gadget?
Well, no, I'm in the. I had a long day, plus my knee's bothering me. So
Oh, bless you.
I went up and down a bunch of dams yesterday, and I was fine. And then I woke up this morning, like, oh, it hurts. So then I had to go up and down
Called
some
getting
more
old.
dams today. So anyway,
That's called getting old.
yeah. Well, it's called getting old. It's also called being out of shape. That's the two are not necessarily related.
I think most of us are past getting old.
Yeah.
I was listening to someone like, oh, they're opening up a senior center for 55 and older, where you can live. And I went, man, that's old. And I went, wait a minute, I'm only 5 years away from.
Yeah, I got 1.5 years. So,
No, you're talking about it. I like swamps. I like anything that really forces players to have to start feeling, jungle swamps are kind of my favorite. When you start going through, because then it's dark, then you have to worry about alligators and all the other stuff, and then you have to worry about tree things and all that. Amazon is perfect for that.
There's one guy on YouTube. His name is AJ Pickett, and he'll just pick a monster and do like a 20 to a half hour episode just about the legend and lore of that monster, and he does a really, really good one on black dragons.
They did Mr.
And that
Rex.
goes really good in with the swamp. So that was look that up. It's pretty cool.
Mr. Rex does a good job with stuff.
Yes,
too.
he does too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, when you look at locations, I just like it where players are out of their element. So deserts are great. I like high mountains with the whipping winds and everything. And part of it is that, and I understand Nosarian said, well, it gets old after a while. No, what it does is it makes certain places inaccessible. And so when you start saying, because that's one of the problems I have with 5e, it's just like, oh, you just zip from here and zip from there. And it's like, well, wait a minute. That's, you want to say, beyond the civilization's edge. That was what to me really appealed about G2, was that you had to like really travel there. And, that should be an adventure all unto itself.
Yeah,
Well,
they hand waved it away in the modules themselves.
Well,
they didn't give you any real ideas, unfortunately. They kept a great location to adventure, but they didn't really give any help for the overland bit.
Go ahead. Sorry.
It was Saxius that said about the elf walking across the snow.
Oh yeah,
But that's like it seems that every adventure you're just walking through a temperate hardwood forest.
I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, when we had the good old guy, World of Greyhawk, which had all the hexes in it, and you think about how long it actually takes to do that, and people forget is I think, at least armies it would take because when I was in Afghanistan, every fort was 10 miles away because that's as far as an army could march in a day before they had to set up again. And
well, that's why villages are rather. That's why, like, I'm sure in Europe and every place else, that's why most villages, even in modern day, are still 10 miles away. Because back in the day when the countries were being built, that's what you could do in a reasonable day. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, there's that, but it's that one picture in Against the Giants where they're showing them crawling up the,
I know the one you mean.
Yeah, that to me just inspired me more than anything else rather than when they actually get there. And of course, the players have to dress warmly. They have all that aspect, and then the other part is I like deserts as well, and I really feel that the was it the Sea of Dust or whatever in the southwestern side of the Greyhawk map.
Yeah, Gord the Rogue had a book there. Yeah,
I always felt cheated that they didn't really flesh that out. I thought that would have been great to have the history and everything else. To be fair, it kind of got morphed into Dark Sun, but
yeah. Of course, the big module series they did that was desert based, they grossly got the scale wrong for the desert.
It wasn't even. I'm not even sure where it was located. To be fair, I mean, I saw that they put in the Forgotten Realms at one point, but
yeah, the Forgotten Realms version that did the desert better, but the original version, the desert was only about 20 miles across. And it was
it's
massive,
the one with. Was it the one with the elephant guys? The guys that had they.
No, he's talking about Pharaoh and Tomb of Martek. Those
Oasis in the White Palm.
Yeah. Right. So I'm thinking of the basic series.
Oh, okay.
I can't. It had an orange cover. I can't remember the name of it now.
But I mean, I want my world to feel like when the players really step away from civilization, they're in a completely alien area where, there's a reason that the old edges of the map said, here be dragons. That's what I want to feel whenever I go anywhere. I want to feel like I'm going someplace, even if it's lost civilizations. I mean, I know that you all talked about temperate forest. I don't know if any of you have ever looked at Simba Room. That gets a really good feeling of, ancient ruins, corrupted animals, and things like that. I think it has a great setting. I'm not a huge fan of the rules, but I really like looking at what's out there, and you get that feeling that I don't want to go in there. The elves will shoot and kill you. Of course, their elves are more evil, or they don't like humans is a better phrase. But yeah, it's like, oh, we're going someplace. We're getting treasures that have been lost long ago, but you get all that fantastic aspect to it, and that's what I really want. Is I don't want players to feel like, oh, I know what this is like. Like, no, wolves actually attack you. I don't care what they do in real life. Well, we're doing fantasy wolves.
Good night, Saxius. Good night, Saxius.
Good night. That, and it brings up different cultural differences. Because, like, in a desert setting, do what you want to my wife and my children, but if you take my flask of water, I'll kill you. It's the same way, like in the Arctic. Do whatever. I don't care what you do, but if you take my firewood, we're going to have issues.
Oh, it's the, all I can think is, I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
Yeah, yep. That's funny.
And by the way, wolves actually do attack you. So, if anybody thinks they don't, that's BS. Look at France in the 1400s. The conditions just have to be right. That's all.
Yeah, who thinks wolves don't attack people?
Not in North America. I don't think there's been if it has, it's very, very rare. But
there was a Canadian guitarist killed by coyotes.
Coyotes are different.
19 years old.
Well,
Yeah.
they have to be in packs. That's the problem.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, I
Yeah,
mean,
but no,
for
they
your
will.
fantasy
Yeah,
world,
yeah.
so
Well,
know,
yeah. Well,
it's not all that fantastic.
Well, yeah, but I mean, but you're right. It's there are wolves that went out there. But I'm so used to people saying, "Oh, but they're like this." Like, well, you know what? When you're hungry and there's not much else out there,
Well, all you
but
need is an evil magic user,
yeah.
Well, that's like another environment would be the boreal forest of like northern Canada, where it's all pines, because there's really no food to scavenge. You have to deal with the occasional bear, the occasional pack of wolves.
The occasional
A
Wendigo.
moose is one of the most dangerous creatures in North America. You have to deal with the weather.
Don't forget the Wendigos.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and then you can throw in the supernatural stuff too.
I'm gonna bring this up is if any of you ever looked at the Tunguska and how long it took them to get out there.
Yes,
I think that's so cool where you have like a meteor hits an area and then now you're going, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
That's and just going over that. If you look at them, they look almost like the what was it the plague? During the plague when they had the guys with the long the almost the beaks,
the long noses,
well,
the
they had to
right,
wear
the
that
plague
because of all the
doctor.
mosquitoes. There were so many mosquitoes they had to wear special clothes and everything else to get out there. And it was almost 30 years after the meteor hit.
Something that was kind of interesting to look at. There's two campaign settings that I thought were kind of interesting. One was the Russian expeditions into Siberia to conquer the indigenous tribes there, and the other one was the Russians going into Karbardi, into like Dagestan and that area in the
Mountains.
around Georgia. Yeah, I can't think of the mountains right now. I want to say
the
Carpathians.
Caucasus?
Thank you. I want to say Carpathians. I knew it was the Caucasus, but I couldn't get the right word. It's late here, so you have to bear with me. Those like I remember reading about those in some, I don't know, strategic magazine back in the day where they showcased like various military campaigns, and I used to look at that stuff because we did a lot of military campaigns, and I used to look at a lot of that stuff for like basis for adventures and stuff, things like that. So
I'm gonna mention this, which ties in with a lot of this, but what was it? I-1, the Dwellers of the Forbidden City. I really enjoy that, which is like, oh look, it's kind of a crater in there, and you go through. The other one I liked, and I wanted to do it with the, which I got the GIS stuff for it, where I could do all the elevations and things, was Kauai. I like using islands, especially volcanic islands, because the islands are big enough that you can put a lot of different monsters there, but they're small enough not to completely overwhelm everything. And so, you go from 0 to 7,000 feet, and then you've got underwater volcanoes. You can have, ancient.
Omenal's done his disappearing act.
Oh, yep. I'm sorry, but actually, 1 second here. So anyway, but then the other one that you get into is extinct volcanoes where they build temples. Then you can use Yanti in there, and then there's always the swamps where you can put a lot of stuff into an area that's about 1,000 square miles, which is 1 hex in Greyhawk. It's but then you get the underwater, so you get the Sahagwin, and you get all the other aspects that are out there. So to me, it's just really cool. You can put one trading city out there and then go from there.
One thing we haven't really mentioned is interesting places to adventure, real life locations in history.
Oh, you mean like time
settings, or do you mean like actual places?
I'll be honest.
I rather enjoyed running a game in Paris around the time of the French Revolution.
You would.
Yeah.
Time's good. I actually like
getting more into it. I like prehistoric, Stone Age. I've kind of liked some of that, and then the other one was, to be fair, I like Renaissance. I do like Warhammer. You get your firearms, but they're not that great compared to a bow. Well, okay, they're already loaded, and I get one shot, and they're better at armor piercing. That's about it. Other than that, the bow is superior.
I mean, one thing that I'm trying to think what I was my point. I'm just going to bring up another image, and this is from an adventure, a Call of Cthulhu adventure I ran for. I know Gingerbeard was in the game. I know Mar Hawkman was in the game. I'm trying to remember who else was in that particular game. And it was set in a real life English village that really existed, using an imagined map of the village as it was at the time, that still exists to this day in a different form because it has withstood a battering and has mostly crumbled into the sea. But it has mythology associated with it. There are stories that have been told about it. And when a scenario incorporates those real life myths in an interesting way so as to tie them into the game and the game system, the game structure, I really like that. The Welsh one, Plantidaire, which had the Welsh little people, the Fae, the fairies, was really interesting because that's based on real sort of Welsh border myth. But this particular one, those who know Cthulhu might well recognize the name of this place, because I do believe that the name was taken from this real life place.
Oh,
Dunwich.
Okay.
That's really a village in England. All that is left of it now is about 10 houses.
Wow.
Because a storm, multiple storms, have destroyed the place. And this adventure factored in one of these great storms and tied in the myths associated with the old bells of Dunwich into a scenario which featured those bells and gave them some sort of cosmic importance.
Oh, the W silent?
Yes, Dunwich. It's pronounced
Okay.
Dunwich.
All right.
So it's never been the Dunwich horror. It's the Dunwich horror.
Well, I don't know these
Classic
things. I mean, we
English.
look at them and we're like, it's Dunwich, darn it. No.
Dunwich.
That's
Norwich.
why it's Worcester sauce too, right?
Worcester. Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah.
Worcestershire sauce.
Worcestershire.
But no, that's, and I love it. I love it when adventures do that and present these locations in a way in which they can be adventured in. I find it fascinating. Not that most of that place is explorable in the adventure because you've got a time limit, but it doesn't matter. It's there.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about bigger cities, I always think of Rome and and Constantinople as two big cities. Though, how can we forget the most important one, going back almost 12,000 years ago, Atlantis?
Absolutely.
I don't know. The thing about Atlantis and things like that are that they're done to death sometimes, you know. It's sort of like the vampire genre. It's just zombies. They've been done to death. I like the idea of a Stone Age thing, or an early sort of adventure. The problem I have with that is I've done it a couple times and it just hasn't been that fun. Now I don't know whether it was because of the age we were at, or the GM, or the players, or whatever. But you know how all those things all come together. But
Sure.
the other thing I get tired of a lot too is the after the apocalypse sort of setting. Right now I have a character or a player who likes to play in the gaslight setting. So that seems to be a very interesting period. But but I like to come up with my own crazy ass stuff that that. Well, I always like to think nobody else has thought of it, but there's not an original thought in the whole universe. I've discovered that many times over. So anyway, yeah.
No,
It's really interesting you say that, Saxius, because I have this debate with my brother very often.
If you want to inspire true horror into your game, I don't care what setting it is, give the person 2 ex-wives.
I thought it wasn't the ex-wives. I thought you were going to say the mother-in-laws.
Daniel, I hope you're not speaking.
I
from
had
experience.
2 mother-in-laws also, so yeah.
Daniel, I hope you're not speaking from experience, but somehow I fear you are.
Ask John how I know.
Kabuki Kid, I think the Gaslight Victorian era is perfect for Call of Cthulhu. I think it's wonderful. Those smoggy streets, the gas lamps.
Yeah, I do like that setting though. That does sound cool.
Like everything else, like, well, what's good for that, and it's like, oh, that's fine, but when you start going out west, it's not my favorite time frame, just usually because I don't like cities that much, but yeah, I understand, especially if you're going to be doing an urban campaign. That's very, especially with the fog. Yep. Where you can't see anything.
My answer is the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Oh, yeah.
What an evocative scenario that is.
Mm.
It's such a great story, and it is so. I mean, I read it. I read quite a lot in my teens. It's one of the ones I read, and I loved reading that. It really drew me in. It had that spookiness to it, as well as being a Sherlock Holmes investigation.
I
adored that.
Oh, go ahead.
Have you watched Penny Dreadful? Because that's about the time frame it's set.
I haven't. No.
Okay. It seems like, supernatural, all sorts of stuff. I enjoyed it for its 3 seasons.
I like Supernatural. Yeah.
But I know that John used to play Lotro, and I know in Lotro there's this one section in the Troll Shaws where you run into these wolves, and I think that they did a very, very good job of that. I don't know if you remember it or not.
The Wolf Den that's south of the path.
Yes, it's like actually scary as hell the way they made it. It was very well done. And I like that region of Rudar, that I think they call it the triangle up there. It's sort of like north of the Troll Shaws, northeast of the Troll Shaws. That's a nice area to set an adventure into, because it's on the border, and you've got trolls, and you've got wolves, and it's this very it's kind of like the Ardennes, I guess, in a way, in terms of the terrain.
I like the way they did the Barrow Downs in Lord of the Rings Online as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, actually. If you can put up with all the go and fetch it, step and fetch it quests that they give you to do.
Yeah, I think graphically, presentation wise, it's very evocative. And the first time you see Rivendell in it as well, it's like, whoa, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I don't know how that is for the people these days, but I know what you're saying, because it was that way for us back in the day. Yeah.
Yes.
But I like to also do early medieval stuff, because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of that out there.
You're talking what, 800?
Yeah, like you get Viking stuff all the time, but I mean just like, really early medieval kind of low fantasy sort of things.
I was just thinking of Saint Olga when you mentioned that time frame. So
Saint Olga, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, go look her up. Go. You want to talk about what? Yeah, if you want to see Game of Thrones, it's her. A lot of it's based off of her story. It appears.
Okay.
Maybe he doesn't mention it, but oh my God, she did all sorts of things. Like they killed her husband, and then they wanted to marry her, so she got all of her suitors in a building and then burned it down with them inside. And then she took her army over, and she was conquering. Says, "Okay, I want everyone to give me a sparrow." from your house, and they did. And then she tied like piece of paper or something that was on fire, and then released all the sparrows. So they went home to all the homes and set all everything on fire. Oh yeah, go read about her. She's an interesting.
Was this like Lithuania or Russia or Kiev?
Yeah,
or...
it's Russian.
Okay.
I think it's Olga of Kiev.
Oh, okay. So it's Kyiv, so it's Ukraine then. Yeah.
It's Russian. Come on, they're the same thing. It's the Rus, RUS.
Ooh.
Well, people may not like
Kiev
that,
and
but
Rus.
it's just like everything else. Like, oh, it's different. Oh, okay, sure. Prussians versus the Bavarians.
You're just out of your element, Omanal. You just don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Oh, what Bavarians?
I'm sorry to tell you that. You just don't know what you're talking about. It's like that's just such an American thing to say.
No. Actually, Manfred, when you go back 1,100 years, you're starting to look at stuff and like what people view as nowadays. It's like, no, it's different than what they think. Because a lot of it goes over. It's just like the Holy Roman Empire. It's like, oh, okay. But then you had the seven princes and things. Yeah. So, but it's funny because people are like, oh, no, it's not. Like, you have the shared same history. You have the same basic language at the beginning. It's like,
yeah, but they don't see it that way. And they don't really. That's the thing.
Well,
like the Germans
it's
don't
modern.
have the same shared history. They were a bunch of tribes. They didn't at some point in time they came together and had the same language and a similar languages and similar religion. But
it took the Romans. Halakha, there has just been an OSR product released on this particular setting.
I liked Mestika from the AD&D stuff.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
It was, what gets me about it is all in modern day people screaming and yelling. I'm like, you know what though, is at least in 1E and 2E, it made me want to play whatever they came out with because it just made it sound cool. Oriental Adventures, Mestika, Al-Qadim. I mean, they made it. They made the settings cool, so you wanted to play there.
Sure.
And I don't know. Nowadays, they've watered everything down and afraid of offending everyone. It's like, it's like going.
Things were separate back then. I mean, they really a lot more. Like in Faerun, they have this multicultural thing going on. I always wonder how that would work. Like I always wonder how humans would tolerate tieflings or dragonborn or something like that. And so are there orc bartenders? Like, how does that work? I don't know.
Well, they start making it into but to me that was the part of the I'm going to say this about Europe. This is why I liked the going over to Cambodia and things is it was so different compared to like going to Germany, which was just like a United States light. It's like, no, I want to, if I go someplace foreign, I want it to be foreign.
Yeah, but if you went to Germany back before 1849, it wasn't even Germany then, and it was really different then, because
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's my point is that things are becoming homogenized, and that's not what I want. It's just like whenever John's talking about and all of your different accents over there, it's like you gotta go to for us, you gotta go at least a couple 100 miles before you get a different accent in many places. But for John, it's like one city to another.
Yeah, or Italy.
I was going to say, Halakha was asking about Aztec Mayan themed. This is the one I was thinking about. I can't Macahuitl, whatever, however you pronounce it. But there is a game out there that does it, and it's OSR, so it's
I
think it's sort of basic D&D sort of framework.
I mean, I saw some of it, but it looked like it was black and white. And I mean, I've got some of the books here where they're talking about things. I'll say this much, and I know it's not your thing. Rifts really went hard into that with their vampires. When you went to South American vampires, they went, that's the whole point of whenever you adventure. I want it to feel unique. I want it to feel different. I don't want it to be like Village A, Village B, and Village C all are the same. It's just generic village. It's like, no.
Yeah, you want to see differences. They want to see because, of course, villages would be isolated from each other. They wouldn't travel to other places unless they absolutely had to. So they'd have their own little customs, their own little superstitions, their own little quirks, and it makes them interesting.
I think that was one of the things I liked about, and D&D doesn't do this, but World of Darkness did this with their Dark Age setting for the Fae, where each one had their own unique, and I guess Vason does this a very good job too. Or however
I've just bought Vason. And
you start seeing that every one of these Fae are different, and you understand why. Well, this village has this requirement. Otherwise, that they have the ancient agreements back and forth between them and the Fae, and you begin to understand that. And that's something I think that's missing in a lot of stuff there.
Show, come on.
Oh,
I'm clicking on something. There we go. I swear. Cheers, Tessorian.
But I mean that's a great idea. I didn't really. I mean, I like Forbidden Lands, but man, I like the idea of Forbidden Lands. I haven't played it, but I read some of Vason and I was like, it's probably not something I could have run, so I didn't pick it up.
Well, I'm going to say I'm going to have a look at it when it gets. I like a lot of the ideas that are in it. Whether it's my cup of tea at the end, I don't know, but it was available at Black Friday sale. I got the big sort of set.
Yeah.
And I got it for half price. So,
well, I mean, and we got the PDF for free, so it's not like we can't look it over now. But then the other part that I'm going to laugh at this because I spent way too much money on those Lone Wolf books just for our shed dweller there, Amon. I got those at half off, and then I paid for shipping. They're arriving tomorrow, and I went, what the hell? And they're coming from the UK. That's what gets me.
Oh, right. Brilliant. So, yeah, we're more efficient. Right, okay. I am going to have to wrap up because it is time for this particular hour to descend upon us. It is the hour when my head gets even more large and round and turns orange. Like and subscribe to avoid a visit from Ace-Eric. So, yeah, I am going to have to wrap up now because I've got work tomorrow. We are past midnight here in the UK. I have to have a shop to open in the morning, a shop to shiver in as it gets cold here.
Oh, man.
But thank you all for joining in with the stream. I think only Bear was on who's got... Oh, no, Shed Dweller, you've got your channel now, and your brother started a channel.
Yes, indeed.
My microphone is currently available on Amazon for £35, which is about £20 to £30 less than what I paid for it. So it's come down in price, and it picks up quite a few surround sounds a little too sensitively for my liking. But otherwise, you can tell it is quite clear. It is nice and clear. I've got a mount where I've had to mount it off my desk because every time I touch my desk, it would really vibrate. So it isn't even touching my desk, but you could probably hear it now, picking up a booming. And there's nothing from the microphone touching the desk, but hey ho, that's the way it is. But it is a decent microphone. But yeah, you've got a channel, and Bear has a channel. Bear is streaming starting in 45 minutes on the topic of horror. If I could stay up for it, I would, but I need to go to work in the morning, so I'll catch up with it while I'm at work tomorrow. But thank you everybody who's joined in the chats tonight. We've had Graham here for the first time in ages. Nice to have Midu join us. Great to have he's younger than the rest of us. Would you believe? I believe he's only 19, 20 odd.
Oh, wow.
But yet he's got a very mature outlook as to the way he plays his games by the looks of things. It's great to see that. And so it's nice to have somebody new with a fresh perspective, but he clearly has a lot of love for the game, which is fantastic. Manfred, Omanel, Daniel, Iman, Saxius, Graham, everybody else who's joined in tonight. thank you all. And we'll see you again next week on next week's Midweek Geek. Before then, we'll be playing a Choose Your Own Adventure book on Friday. We've got OSE on Saturday afternoon and MERP on Saturday evening.
Looking forward.
And I have put sign-ups in my Discord for running Horror on the Orient Express next year. Provisionally on a Thursday night. If people can't make Thursdays, I am flexible to change to Tuesdays, but I haven't got many other times I can run it other than those two. But if you want to play that, it's a big old campaign. It could go on for 2 years.
Oh,
it's a
or until your character dies or becomes insane. You know,
it's gentle to start with. It's gentle to start.
Yeah. I'm just joking about it because it does everything ratchets up over time. You have to be gentle at the beginning, otherwise all the players would
It's an 800-page campaign.
Kiss me before you screw me.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm going to end this stream. So
have a good night, guys.
Cheers all. See you, and thanks to everybody in chat as well. Thanks to everybody in chat.
Night, everyone.